Chapter 453. But, no buts. It's a 2-meter bed. You sleep 1 meter, and I sleep 1 meter. Is that enough? Qingyu clearly saw the smiles on the faces of the cashiers. No matter how thick-skinned she was, she couldn't help but blush. She read out the ID number. After the cashier checked it, she invited them to check in. Inside the room, Rongrui went directly to the bathroom. After a while, the sound of running water came out. Qingyu's heart was beating fast, and she couldn't help but be nervous. He went to take a shower. However, what about her? Did she have to take a shower too? She struggled, took off his sweater, folded it, and put it on the chair. The air conditioner was turned on in the room, and the temperature was very high. She felt comfortable and warm all over. Charging the phone first, she glanced at the side of the bed and saw the shameful warm reminder, there are safety products in the drawer. Oh, seeing these words, her face was a little red. There were a few bottles of mineral water on the table in the room. Qingyu unscrewed one of the bottles and drank half of it. Just when she stopped, she heard the sound of the water in the bathroom stopping. She was shocked, quickly screwed the cap, went to the counter, picked up her phone, and turned it on, pretending to play with it. However, the phone could not be turned on. She pressed the power button hard, but there was no response for a long time. She remembered that when she was in the convenience store, she slapped the phone hard. No way, the quality was so bad. The bathroom door was opened, and her back was stiff. Her heart was beating as fast as a motor. Rongrui came out, wearing a beige checkered pajamas. Obviously, it was his own. He was drying his hair with a towel in his hand. Seeing her back to him, he shouted, "Hey, go take a shower." I don't want to. I have no clothes to wear. Qingyu's face was hot, and her voice was a little stuttering. You are so dirty, and you smell. No way. She stood up, turned to look at him, and raised her head confidently. I just took a shower at home. I don't want to. Then you sleep on the floor. If you don't take a shower, I won't sleep with you. Rongrui dried his hair and sat on the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. I can't get up. Who wants to sleep with him? Shameless. She pursed her lips and sat down on the carpet, fiddling with her phone in her hands. After a long silence, Rongrui said, Hey, I was joking. She ignored him. Come on up, the floor is filthy. She still ignored him. Rongrui sighed, got up, and lifted her up under her armpits. She exclaimed. When she came back to her senses, she had been thrown onto the bed, and the big bed shook gently. Rongrui lifted the quilt and covered her. Sleep well. Her face was covered, and she was a little annoyed. Are you F*king sick? Don't you know this will scare me to death? Rongrui did not speak. He took down the quilt, spread it, and lay down. She lay on the edge of the corner, folded her arms, and only covered a corner of the quilt, for fear that he would suddenly attack. Why are you hiding so far away? I'm not going to eat you. Come closer. Chapter 454. Su Qianxi slept very soundly. Being held by him, she suddenly giggled in her sleep. Li Xiqing was looking for information on his mobile phone. Hearing her sudden laughter, he couldn't help but laugh too. Su Qianxi was woken up by her own laughter. Opening her eyes and realizing her posture, the smile on her face was even wider. She put her arms around his waist and shrank into his chest. What did you dream of? Li Xiqing threw the phone aside, held her and whispered, Why are you laughing so happily? Su Qianxi laughed even more and snuggled in his arms. She said, I dreamed that I had a pair of twins, a boy and a girl, but you only like to hold the girl, and the boy climbed on your head to poop. Ha ha ha. Li Xiqing heard that, tapped her nose and whispered, then I will spank his little butt. The little guy is too bad. But after saying that, he inexplicably felt that it might come true. Looking down at her belly, he stroked it with his big palm and said helplessly, why is it only a little more than a month? Yes, why is it only a little more than a month? Time passes so slowly. Su Qianxi also touched her belly. It was very flat. If she did not look closely, she would not find that it was a little higher than usual. When will it be 3 months? It's so hard. Su Qianxi was speechless and punched him. Can't you think of something else? Li Xiqing smiled, grabbed her hand, stretched out his leg, and pressed it on her leg. His voice was low and mellow, with a bit of a smile. Of course, I want to have 2 boys and 1 girl. I want to train the 2 sons to be the guardians of our daughter. Do you really like girls? I like whatever you give birth to. How about boys compared to girls? Girls. Li Xiqing did not hesitate. They will definitely be like you. But I want to have a boy like you. A boy can have 2. What about family planning? Let them find me. I'm not afraid. Su Qianxi chuckled. This was what it meant to be rich. Aren't you tired? You drove for so long today and walked for so long. Not tired. Right, I found out about Rongxian. Li Xiqing repeated what Luo Zhan had just told him to her. Su Qianxi was stunned. Yang Rongshuan. Yes, that's why father-in-law Song couldn't find any news of her all these years. It's not that she is dead, but that she has changed her identity, and she is Rong Haiyue's wife. With the power of Song and lawyer Xing, they can't find out anything about him. Her eyes widened. No way. Rong Haiyue's wife is Rongxian. Well, I can't be sure of their exact relationship. On the 6th day of the new year, I'll take you to the imperial capital to thank them. While we're at it, we can also ask them. She had wanted to thank him for a long time. After all, her life was saved by Rong Haiyue. However, such a piece of news was no different from a heavy bomb to her. Song Yifan was not her biological father, and Rong Haiyue was Rong Xian's husband. Don't think too much. Li Xiqing stroked her face. The possibility is very small. Rong Haiyue will not let his own flesh and blood wander outside. Now, sleep. She pouted. How do you know what I'm thinking? Chapter 455. Okay. She closed her eyes obediently, but she couldn't fall asleep. Looking up, she saw a pair of deep dark eyes. She pursed her lips, looked up, and kissed him. Good night. A good night kiss is not like this. He held her head and kissed her lips. The kiss deepened and became extremely gentle. She put her hands on his back and held him in an intoxicated way. In the end, she gasped. Blushing, she lowered her head and did not dare to move. He held her, slightly curled his lips, and closed his eyes. In the other room of Yijing Bay, he pulled her to the middle and covered her with the quilt. Then he turned off the light and did not move again. She quietly moved to the side, her back stiff, and did not dare to move. Until she heard the even breathing sound next to her, she breathed a sigh of relief. Damn! It was so exciting. Quietly getting up, she groped in the dark to find the bottle of mineral water she had just drunk. Her eyesight was very good during the day, but at night, she was night blind. It was dark everywhere. She leaned against the wall to find the table, but in a moment of carelessness, her toes were knocked down by the edge of the carpet, and she fell forward. The sound of her fall was very loud in this quiet night. She almost cried out, covered her mouth, and quickly got up from the ground, looking behind her. Although she could not see anything, he should not be awake, right? Feeling her way to the table, she finally found the mineral water. She picked up the bottles one by one, picked up the lightest one, and drank it all up. Going back, she subconsciously avoided the bulge this time and reached out to the edge of the bed. Carefully, however, just as she went around to the position she had just slept and was about to climb up, her hand touched a warm body. She was shocked and immediately withdrew her hand, but at the same time, a big hand pulled her down. She exclaimed, and her whole body was lifted up. When she came back to her senses, she had already been hugged tightly. Rong-rui. Qingyu growled, but the people over there did not respond. She suddenly remembered what he had warned her when he had just been imprisoned by Li Xiqing. I have sleepwalking. You'd better not be here. Otherwise, even if I kill you, I won't be punished for it. Su Qianxi was shocked. It can't be, right? Was this guy sleepwalking now? His breathing was still very even. She moved a little and found that she couldn't move at all. Hey, let go. She was a little scared. It was the first time in her life that she had seen a sleepwalker, and the sleepwalker was now lying with her. It was too dangerous. What if he was killed in the middle of his sleep? Her heart pounding, she lifted his hand and moved it away. But Rong-rui moved, moaned, and buried his head. Unfortunately, it was on her chest. As if struck by lightning, Qingyu writhed and struggled frantically, shouting, "Pervert! Get lost! So what if you're sleepwalking? Be careful that I don't castrate you." Sleepwalking. Chapter 456. Being pushed away, Rong-rui was a little sleepy. He opened his eyes and seemed a little annoyed. What? It's the middle of the night. Can't you let me sleep? She was stunned by his words, but then she kicked him angrily and roared, "You bastard!" Rong-rui looked innocent and shouted, "What's wrong with me? I was sleeping well and was woken up by you. Why did you kick me? I'm so wronged." Bah! I think you did it on purpose. You know what you just did. What did I do to you? You hugged me. So what? It's not like I haven't hugged you before. And then. She paused and asked, "How do you know there was then?" You did it on purpose, didn't you? It's not like you haven't hugged me before. You won't be so pretentious. She paused and didn't know what to say for a while. She wouldn't be so pretentious. Was this sentence a compliment or a derogatory one? And then you buried your head in her chest. However, she couldn't say it out loud. Pulling the quilt, she turned her back and decided to ignore him. Rong-rui secretly smiled, but pretended to be annoyed. Ridiculous. About 10 minutes later, she slowly fell asleep. Rong-rui turned around, sneaked close, and reached out to touch her waist. She moaned, turned over, and continued to sleep. Seeing her turn over, Rong-rui gently leaned over and reached out to hold her in his arms, gently. He wanted to sleepwalk so badly. But Rong-rui still resisted. Take it slow. She didn't realize that she had been half-hugged and slept until dawn. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and saw the beige plaid pajamas. Her eyes widened and she pushed him hard. She immediately sat up and lifted the quilt to look at herself. Fortunately, Rong-rui couldn't help laughing, but he quickly hid his smile. He got up and threw a paper bag on the chair to her. She was shocked. When she took it, she found that it was a set of clothes. From inside to outside, from big to small. She glanced at the bra and found that the size was exactly the same. Where did it come from? And the size was quite suitable. I called someone to send it over. The size should be okay. Try it on. Rong-Rui yawned. Seeing her slightly surprised look, he explained, the waiter asked me how big your underwear should be. I don't know much about this kind of size, so I gestured. About this size. As he spoke, he arched his fingers into a semicircle and grabbed at the air. She suddenly blushed, picked up a pillow and threw it at him, roaring, "Get out!" Su Qianxi slept until dawn, but when she woke up, she felt a bit nauseous. He rushed to the toilet and retched twice, but nothing came out. He followed and patted her back, asking in a low voice, "Are you uncomfortable?" She waved her hand and quickly pushed him out. After the couple freshened up, they were ready to go downstairs for breakfast. When Su Qianxi just went out the door, she saw Qingyu and Rong-Rui coming from the back corridor. When Qingyu saw her, she immediately turned around and covered her face. Chapter 457. Qingyu's face was wrinkled, and she squeezed out a smile. Turning her head, she shouted, "Hi, madam, it's his first time in Dan City. I'm here to be his tour guide, ha ha ha, oh. Is that so?" Su Qianxi pursed her lips and chuckled. "Of course, don't you think so?" Qingyu smiled brightly, looking at Rong-Rui with a pair of threatening eyes. Rong-Rui nodded calmly. "Yes, last night, we were all very comfortable." Qingyu's expression changed, and she smiled awkwardly. "Mr. Rong, be careful what you say." Although she was smiling, her other hand was already pinching his waist from behind. Rong-Rui frowned, looking innocent, and said with a forced smile, "Did I say something wrong? I did not expect that you and Mr. Rong have such a good relationship." Li Xiqing came out, holding Su Qianxi's small bag. Su Qianxi took the bag and put it on her shoulder. She reached out and took Qingyu's hand, saying, "Let's go and have breakfast together." Qingyu wanted to stay away from Rong-Rui and quickly followed Su Qianxi. However, Rong-Rui asked the waiter to buy the shoes for her. They were a little small, and her toes hurt when she walked. Li Xiqing and Rong-Rui walked behind. Rong-Rui crossed his arms and said, "When are you going back to Kingstown?" "Tonight." "Your supercar seems to be a modified four-seater." Li Xiqing seemed to have guessed what he wanted to do. He smiled and said, "Alone." "And Qingyu?" "Yes." In front of them, Su Qianxi had taken Qingyu to find a place to sit down and began to order with a napkin. Soon, tea was served, and food was ordered. Li Xiqing told Qingyu about Yu Lily's birthday. Qingyu drank the tea and said without hesitation, "Okay, when?" "The night after tomorrow," Li Xiqing said quietly and took his wife's teacup. "Don't drink tea. Drink water." Su Qianxi pouted, but she could only take a glass of water and watch them drink the mellow Tiguanyin tea. So soon. Qingyu felt a little surprised and counted with her fingers. The 5th day of the new year. Yes. As they spoke, the dishes were served one after another. He picked up a xiaolongbao for her, dipped it in vinegar, and put it in her bowl. "Be careful of the soup. It's very hot." "Oh." She blew on it and took a small bite. Rong-Rui listened to them and did not speak, but his eyes had become deep. His amber pupils were full of meaning. He seemed to casually pick up a bun for himself and said, "They are going back to Kingstown tonight. Let's go together, Qingyu. I'm afraid my mom won't let me go back so soon. I'll go back and ask later." If Qingyu proposed it herself, Qingyu's mother would not agree, but if Rong-Rui proposed it, the outcome would be different. Rong-Rui knew that and did not say anything. He asked, "Shall we meet here tonight?" "Sure." Li Xiqing slowly took a bite of the bun and said. Su Qianxi finished the soup dumpling and picked up a glutinous rice chicken with her chopsticks. She said, "Later, we will go back to my father's place. Does Assistant Ching also live nearby? We can go together." "Okay." Ching Yu couldn't have asked for more. "Thank you, madam." Chapter 458. After eating, Li Xiqing drove them to the place where they met Rong Rui yesterday. After dropping them off, he took his wife to park the car. She was wearing shoes that did not fit her feet, and her walking posture was a bit weird. She stumbled toward the door. Feeling that Rong Rui had been following her, she felt very disgusted. She turned around, looked at him, and said impolitely, "My clothes and shoes, as well as last night's clothes, coffee, room, and fare. Make a list. How much is it in total? I will pay you, and we are even, okay?" Rong Rui heard that and raised his eyebrows. Seeing that she wanted to cut ties with him immediately, he clenched his fists. "Forget it. What is your account number? I will send you the money directly to save you the trouble." She put her hand in her pocket, and her tone was a bit impatient and strange. "You can pay for that, but you can't pay for my virginity. This is also my first time, and you are so good at it. Why are you pretending to be stupid? Society is so messy, and you are so devoted to that B*tch tang. Who knows you?" Before she finished, she was pressed against the wall behind her, startled, and her voice immediately stopped. Rong Rui's eyes were filled with anger. A pair of amber eyes stared at her as if he wanted to tear her into pieces. Seeing him like this, she was a bit frightened. But after all, she was a person who had seen a lot. She sneered, and her almond-shaped eyes were full of sarcasm. "Why? Can't I say that about B*tch tang? Now you are both unmarried. Isn't it perfect for you? A B*tch, A B*tch, and a little B* starred. It's a match made in heaven." Rong Rui sealed her lips with great force, and her lips were squeezed painfully. The kiss this time was different from all the previous ones. Rough, violent, and venting like a wolf gnawing without any technique or mercy. Rong Rui was angry, and he was venting. That was all. She was clearly aware of his emotions and struggled with her hands and feet. But Rong Rui always pressed her shoulders. No matter how she struggled, she could not move. He bit her lips hard, and she frowned in pain. She tilted her head and slightly moved away. At the place where their lips met, a drop of liquid dripped onto her hand. She gasped, and the sweet taste filled her mouth. Slowly, the liquid flowed down her lips. She reached out, and a touch of red was on it. Seeing the blood on her lips, Rong Rui calmed down. He reached out and gently rubbed the blood on her lips, but she turned her head and looked at him coldly. "Ching Yu, listen, Bao." Ching Yu spat, and the blood gushing from her lips sprayed all over his face. "Pervert." Rong Rui closed his eyes and wiped his face. A few streaks of blood immediately appeared on his face. She pushed him away with all her strength, sneered, and then ran away. Rong Rui looked at her from behind. His clenched fists tightened and loosened, loosened and tightened again. Finally, his fists drooped in defeat. She had no money or keys. When she arrived at the door, she pressed the doorbell desperately. After a few minutes, someone came out to open the door. Chapter 459. Hearing her mother's words, Ching Yu sneered, walked into the room with a gloomy face, and warned, "If something like last night happens again, Mrs. Ching, let's break off the relationship." As he spoke, he slammed the door hard, making a banged sound. Ching Yu's mother suddenly felt that something was wrong and immediately called Rong Rui to ask about the situation. In the evening, after dinner, Li Xiqing's car was waiting at the gate of Yijing Bay. Rollercoasters got out, but Qingyu did not come. It was not because Qingyu's mother refused, but because Qingyu did not want to see Rollercoasters. She was afraid that she hated him more than before. Rollercoasters was well aware of that, so when Qingyu's mother called him, he did not say anything that he should not. When he returned to Kingstown, it was already past 10 p.m. After saying goodbye to Rollercoasters, Li Xiqing drove directly back to the old house. However, he never expected that as soon as he got home, he was greeted with a big fight. Bastard! If your boss did not call me, I would not know about it. Su Qianxi just entered the door and heard Li Zhao's angry voice, so she quickly ran in. The voice came from the study. Su Qianxi ran in and saw Li Jinan kneeling on the ground with his head down. Holding the whip in his hand, Li Zhao looked very angry. You've grown up, haven't you? Li Jinan, you are only 25 years old. You have such a bright future. How many people can become a major at such a young age? You. Then he was about to hit him with the whip. Su Qianxi was scared and quickly shouted, Dad. The whip was as thick as 2 fingers. If she hit him like that, his skin would definitely be torn. Li Zhao saw Su Qianxi coming in, and his expression softened a bit. He asked, Where is Xiqing? Just then, Li Xiqing came in and saw the scene inside. He gently pulled Su Qianxi and said, Go to sleep first. Su Qianxi turned her head and glanced into the study, hesitating. It's okay. Let's go. Li Xiqing took her into the room. Although Su Qianxi was anxious, she also knew that this was not something she could get involved in. After the shower, Su Qianxi tossed and turned in bed for a long time before Li Xiqing came in. How is it? She asked. Li Xiqing walked over, sat on the edge of the bed, and gently shook his head. It's just a few lashes. He has been sent to the hospital. His physique is stronger than mine. He will be fine. Su Qianxi vaguely felt that it should be more than a few whips, but when she heard that, she was still relieved and said, Such a thick whip can kill someone. Jinan is his son. No matter how angry he is, he won't beat him to death. But Dad and Grandpa are very disappointed. Sigh, I have my own pursuits, but you must warn me not to do anything illegal. Since I'm not a soldier anymore, it's not a bad idea to start a business with you. In her previous life, Li Jinan had been too arrogant. He had made too many enemies and had been hunted down several times. Every time the news reached home, the old master and Li Zhao were unable to restrain their anger, but at the same time, they were greatly disappointed. If Li Jinan didn't engage in such shady business in this life, he probably wouldn't have to deal with so many problems. Chapter 460. After resting at home for a day and playing chess with Grandpa, Su Qianxi went to bed early. Early the next morning, Su Qianxi was in a daze when she felt a big hand moving around on her body. She moaned and took his hand away. However, that big hand became even more naughty. It reached out and gently scratched her waist. Su Qianxi was ticklish, and being scratched, she couldn't help but chuckle. Holding his big hand, Su Qianxi couldn't help laughing and said, Don't play. Li Xiqing smiled, helped her up, and helped her take off her clothes. Get up. We have something to do today. What is it? Su Qianxi opened her eyes in a daze. Unprepared, her shirt was taken off by him. She was not wearing a bra. Su Qianxi suddenly shivered, covered her chest, and resisted. No. Li Xiqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Poking her nose, he handed her the clothes he had prepared. What are you thinking about? Put it on. Su Qianxi was embarrassed. Blushing, she took the bra and gave him a stare. Seeing this, he leaned over and whispered, "If you want, I can also." "No." She pushed him away. "It will hurt the baby." "What are you thinking about?" "I said I can help you put it on." Li Xiqing took the bra from her hand and put it on for her. Bending down slightly, he buckled it for her, almost hugging her. Su Qianxi blushed again, and the blush spread to her ears and neck. Seeing this beautiful scene, Li Xiqing held his breath. He did not rush to step back, but hugged her, his lips falling on her earlobe, gently sucking. Su Qianxi shivered and put her hand on his chest. Her throat made a low sound, but she quickly bit her lip and whispered, "Didn't you say we have something to do today?" "Ah, stop biting." He took the dress he had just prepared for her and put it on for her. Su Qianxi was also wearing it. With a smile on her face, she muttered, "I'm just pregnant. It's not like I can't take care of myself. You dress me every day. What if I can't find my own clothes in the future? Then I'll help you wear it until you're old." Li Xiqing rubbed the tip of his nose against hers and kissed her on the lips. "Now, Mrs. Li, please raise your hand and put your sleeve on first." "Yes, Mr. Li." When she put on her clothes and went out, she found it was already past 11 p.m. No wonder he came to wake her up. After eating something to fill his stomach, it was time for lunch. Li Jinan had stayed in the hospital for the entire day yesterday. He was much better today. In the past, Li Jinan always wore thin clothes. Today, he looked especially bloated, and his face was a little pale. Seeing Su Qianxi, he greeted, "Sister-in-law. Uncle, let's eat." Li Jinan smiled and raised his hand. It was a bit difficult for him to pick up chopsticks, so he inhaled and ate. "Why didn't you stay in the hospital for a few more days? There are nurses there to take care of you. It's too inconvenient to go home so soon." Chapter 461. Li Xiqing stuffed the food into his mouth, and his eyes flashed with displeasure. He poked Li Jinan's mouth with chopsticks. Li Jinan shrank back from the poke. He looked innocent. "That's so cruel." Su Qianxi couldn't help saying, but then she realized it was inappropriate and looked around. "My parents, grandpa, and brother went out together today and will come back in the evening." Li Xiqing put another mouthful of rice into Li Jinan's mouth, rude, and asked, "What else do you want to eat?" Li Jinan's mouth was full, and he shook his head bitterly. Su Qianxi couldn't help but smile, watching them while eating. Lu Sao came in after watering the flowers. Seeing Li Xiqing feeding Li Jinan, she was so shocked that she almost dropped the watering can. After putting it back, she said, "Li Xiqing, let me do it. You go eat. Didn't you say you were going out?" Li Xiqing immediately handed over the bowl and chopsticks. Li Jinan also breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at Lu Sao gratefully. Jesus! Although it was an honor to be fed by Li Xiqing, the way he did it was too rude. Li Xiqing went to his seat to eat, but after a few bites, he suddenly looked up and said, "Honey, I want to eat that." He pointed to the food not far from Su Qianxi. Li Jinan finally swallowed the mouthful of rice and rolled his eyes. Su Qianxi knew that he was bothered by the way she was going to feed Li Jinan. Pursing her lips, she secretly smiled, picked up a piece, and put it to his mouth. Li Xiqing opened his mouth gracefully and glanced at Li Jinan. Li Jinan gave him a contemptuous look. "Don't you know how to show off your love?" Li Xiqing did not mind at all. He opened his mouth again and put the chopsticks that Su Qianxi handed over, satisfied. After dinner, Li Jinan was helped back to the room by Lu Sao, and Li Xiqing took Su Qianxi to a nearby mall. "What are we going to do?" "Go shopping." Li Xiqing seemed to be in a very good mood. He parked the car and took her upstairs. Su Qianxi didn't realize what he wanted until she was taken to the maternal and infant level. The child is only slightly more than a month old. So soon. Not soon, only 8 months. In fact, Li Xiqing simply wanted to help the child pick out some nice clothes. After the new year, he would probably be very busy again. The smile on her face widened as she took his hand and walked into a shop. Children's clothes were very, very small. Su Qianxi picked one up and felt that the clothes were incredibly small. She asked, "Newborn babies are so small." The salesperson walked over politely and began to introduce the products to her. In the end, she asked, "Do you want to buy a boy's or a girl's? We have clothes from birth to 3 years old." Both. She found that they were all in the pink color of a little girl. "We have twins, 1 boy and 1 girl." Su Qianxi was shocked and excited. "How did you know?" "You said it." Su Qianxi heard that and her excitement died down. She pouted and said, "I was dreaming. Dreams will come true." Li Xiqing came over and rubbed her hair. A pair of cold and deep eyes gazed at her with deep affection. His red lips slightly curled. It was not a big smile, but his good mood was revealed. It is said that the dreams of pregnant women are the most accurate. It must be twins, a boy and a girl. Chapter 462. Li Xiqing did not want to talk to her. He took the car key and went to the driver's seat. The policewoman grabbed his clothes, a bit angry. "Mr. Li," Li Xiqing's expression did not change much. Looking at her hand, he said calmly, "This is Mrs. Li sitting in the car. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for you to sexually harass my wife in front of her, is it?" The policewoman did not expect him to say that and immediately let go of his hand. Her expression changed and she said, "Wait a minute." Then she took 2 steps forward and yelled, "Bring them here." Then she put her hand on Li Xiqing's car, not letting him go. The other police officers quickly brought the 2 suspects over. The policewoman said to Su Qianxi, "You were kidnapped last time. You should recognize the voices and body characteristics of the criminals. Take a look at these 2. Do any of them match the characteristics of the criminals?" Su Qianxi did not get out of the car. Looking at the 2 people for a while, she shook her head. "Not them." "Why?" "The person who kidnapped me is at least 185 centimeters tall, very strong, and the muscle lines on his arms are very obvious. Obviously, he exercises a lot. These 2 people are obviously less than 180 centimeters, and the one is very calm." As soon as Su Qianxi said that, the policewoman subconsciously glanced at the 2 people. Obviously, these 2 people were not very mature. Facing so many police officers and guns, they were already trembling in fear and looked like they were about to cry. The most important thing is that it was a woman who picked up the criminals. The 2 young people who were detained looked at Su Qianxi gratefully. One of them explained loudly, "I told you, we were drinking. When we came out, the car was already gone." "Then why didn't you take out the keys when you were drinking?" the policewoman asked grumpily. "You forgot. Who has such a good memory?" "Then why did you cover the license plate number? If you did not do it yourself, why did you cover the license plate number?" "Who covered the license plate number? My license plate is so awesome. I can't wait to show it off. Besides, if I wanted to do something, would it be useful to cover the license plate number? This car is so special. Didn't you chase us for 9 blocks because you saw it on the road? Aren't we wronged? You police officers are incompetent, and you're blaming us for driving." "Shut up." The policewoman gave him a slap. "Take him back and interrogate him." Li Xiqing was already in the car. He said coldly, if there's nothing else, please move aside. We still have business to attend to. No, we let you go last time. This time, you have to go back with us to make a statement. Mrs. Lee, I hope you can cooperate with the police. Su Qianxi looked at the time and said, how about tomorrow? Anyway, it's been a few days. There's no need to rush. We still have things to do. The policewoman was about to refuse when another policeman came up and whispered, don't make him angry. This guy is not to be trifled with. Quit while you're ahead. The policewoman was reluctant, but after glancing at Li Xiqing in the car, she stepped back. Come to the police station tomorrow morning, Mrs. Li. There was no response, but she could only let them drive away. Chapter 463. He was driving steadily, holding her hand with one hand. Scared? No, I just feel strange, as if someone is watching us. The police behind us. No, it's another pair of eyes. A pair of eyes has been staring at us since the beginning, but I just can't find where. Since she was reborn, her sixth sense had become more and more sensitive. Although she could not find the source every time she sensed it, something bad would happen. Feeling uneasy, she looked around, and the feeling of being watched was getting weaker and weaker. She was more certain that the suspect the police were looking for must be at the scene. However, why didn't they find him? Yu Lily couldn't get enough sleep these days. She had slept from 9 a.m. last night until 11 a.m. the next day, but she was sleepy again in the afternoon. Lying down at 3 a.m., she didn't slowly open her eyes until someone came to her side and started to make love to her. Oh Ming held her and tasted her lips. Seeing that she woke up, he made love to her even more. Yu Lily was in a daze, holding his neck with her hands. The fire in her body had been quickly ignited by him, almost burning her. Oh Ming's body sank into her, holding her and swaying gently. Yu Lily screamed and kept her waist up to meet his. This unconscious movement pleased Oh Ming even more, which led to an even more violent attack. At the end, Oh Ming took the initiative to use a condom, and Yu Lily was sent down at the last moment. All her strength was drained, and she collapsed under him. Oh Ming took the condom down, and there was a strange light in his eyes. He hugged her and said, today is your birthday. Yeah. Yu Lily was paralyzed, but soon thought of something and reached out to pat him. Then why did you do it to me? How are you going to face others later? The corners of Oh Ming's lips curled up as he carried her into the bathroom. While serving her in the shower, Oh Ming silently counted the time. Yu Lily noticed that he was absent-minded, reached out, and splashed water on his face, shouting, Hey, what are you thinking about? Oh Ming came back to himself, turned his head fiercely, and pushed her into the bathtub. His big hands tickled her armpits and waist, whispering, Naughty, you are looking for trouble. Yu Lily laughed, grabbed him uncomfortably, and shouted, Go away, it's itchy, Oh Ming. Oh Ming snorted, pulled her up, and helped her clean. Gritting his teeth, he said, I will deal with you at night. Yu Lily held back her laughter, and after washing, she ran out. Yu Lily picked out a fiery red dress for herself. It had a flat collar that covered her collarbone and exposed her shoulders. The sleeves were long, making her look mature, sexy, and charming. Oh Ming held her waist and lifted her chin with his well-defined fingers. He whistled and said, Why are you so beautiful? Just like a fairy. Yu Lily smiled a little proudly. She touched the back of his head with her slender hand and winked at him, saying, I am a demon. Sooner or later, I will suck your essence dry and let you die a horrible death. Chapter 464. Pfft, useless. Yu Lily looked contemptuous. Don't you know if I am useless or not? Ha! As Ming spoke, his lips had moved down, and he was ready to move. Yu Lily pushed him and warned, "Stop, we still have to meet people." "Then don't seduce me." Ming took her hand and bit it. "Let's go and meet people." Pulling her up, Ming put on the burgundy suit next to him. Yu Lily was able to sit in front of the vanity mirror and put on makeup. After dressing up, when Ming was not paying attention, Yu Lily took her phone into the bathroom and sent a WeChat message to Luihan, "Let's go. Qian and I are waiting for you." The other side quickly replied, "Okay, we're almost there." Almost there, almost there, Yu Lily couldn't help but smile. Holding the phone, she opened the door, hummed a tune, and went forward to hold Ming's arm. "Let's go." Ming's eyes fell on her mobile phone, and faintly, he felt something was wrong. But he did not say anything and walked to the underground parking lot with her. Qingyu drove for more than 3 hours back to Kingstown. When she got home, she lay in bed and collapsed. She didn't know how long she slept, but the doorbell rang. She covered her head with the quilt, but the doorbell did not stop ringing. She rubbed her hair and opened the door. At first glance, she felt that she was going blind. Her first reaction was to close the door. However, it was blocked by Rong Rui and could not be pushed. She was angry and yelled, "Are you King annoying? Why are you still haunting me?" Rong Rui did not care, but pulled the suitcase, looked at her house, and nodded. "It's quite clean." Qingyu noticed the suitcase in his hand and was shocked. She stepped on his suitcase. "Wait, what the *CK do you want to do?" "To find you." Rong Rui's face was not red, and he was not out of breath, as if he was saying something natural. "I don't welcome you. Get out." Qingyu had really never seen such a shameless person. Didn't he know that others hated him? Didn't he know that she hated him to death? Did he really think she was joking? She sneered. "By the way, I transferred the money to you. Did you see it?" "Yeah," Rong Rui responded. "I transferred it for you too. Did you see it?" "When?" 10 minutes ago." She snorted and turned to check her phone. Kingstown Bank prompts you that Rong Rui has transferred you 1,000 yuan, 000 yuan through mobile online banking. Qingyu was so shocked that she almost dropped her phone. Turning to look at him, she exclaimed, "Are you crazy? Why did you transfer so much money to me?" Rong Rui walked in with his suitcase and said, "Rent, but I don't know how to cook, so you have to work hard, Miss Landlord." Bah! She threw the phone away, reached out, and pushed him out, shouting, "I don't agree. Get out. You are trespassing. I can call the police. But I've paid the rent. You can't kick me out. *CK, I'll return it to you." Who the *CK wants your rent? She picked up the phone and was about to transfer it back to him. However, the new phone had not yet been installed with online banking. After a while, Rong Rui had already opened the door and walked through her room with his suitcase. "Hey!" Qingyu was so angry that she almost collapsed. "Rong! Dash!" Chapter 465. Rong Rui entered and looked around the room. There was a rattan chandelier hanging in the middle of the room, a laptop on a table, a pot of succulents and cactus next to it. On top of the table was a small 3-layer bookshelf, full of books. Next to it was a medium-sized wardrobe, matching the 1.2-meter European-style single bed, looking very elegant and clean. The furnishings and decoration of the living room were also very bourgeois, revealing the style of a mature and intellectual woman. Rong Rui glanced around and nodded. The environment is good, but the bed is a little small. She rushed in, pushed him out from the inside, and roared, Rong Rui. I heard you. Don't be so loud. Rong Rui held her hand, smiling. Is there a guest room? Then he took the initiative to go out and turn to the next room. Next door was a utility room, where all kinds of things that she did not usually use were placed. It was just that this room was about the same size as her bedroom, and the junk was just piled up in a corner. Rong Rui put down the suitcase, walked to the window, and opened the curtains. Immediately, some dust flew up. She simply ignored him. After installing online banking for herself, she immediately transferred the money back. Rong Rui turned and went to her bathroom, which had a fresh lemon smell. As soon as he went in, he saw a mirror with piles of cosmetics in front of it. Further inside, he could see 2 glass cubicles, one for the toilet, and the other for the bathroom. Very good, very clean. His cell phone rang, and Rong Rui picked up his phone. Capital Bank reminds you, Qingyu has transferred 1,000 yuan to you through mobile online banking, the balance. Rong Rui chuckled, and his fingers moved quickly. Qingyu had just finished and was about to drive him away when her cell phone rang again. This time, Rong Rui transferred 2 million to her. She turned back angrily, and after a while, Rong Rui actually transferred 5 million to her. God, she was about to go crazy. She went to find him and found that Rong Rui swaggered out of the bathroom, still holding the phone in his hand. He looked satisfied. The environment is good. Take care of it in the future, Miss Landlord. Since you like this place so much, I'll give it to you. This house only costs a little more than 1 million. Since you gave me 5 million, I'll give it to you. I'll move out right away. You won't move away. Rong Rui looked at her. You won't move away. This apartment is a single apartment that Li Xiqing allocated to you. It belongs to the Li family. You are not qualified to transfer it. Qingyu, now that you've taken 5 million from me, if you still chase me away, I can call the police and say that you're suspected of fraud. Ah! Qingyu screamed and was about to break down. How can you be so king shameless and unscrupulous? You were the one who delivered yourself to me. This old lady is cheating your sister. Girls shouldn't swear. It's not good. Rong Rui looked at her calmly. Get out. Qingyu was so angry that her hands were shaking. She turned on her cell phone and was about to transfer the money to him. Rong Rui only glanced at her and said indifferently, if you transfer it to me again, I will give you 10 million. If you transfer it again, I will transfer 20 million. Double each time. Try it. Qingyu wanted to laugh. Your card has no limit. And even if there was no limit, how could Rong Rui have so much money? Where did it come from? Dash. Chapter 466. Rong Rui glanced at her, looked calm, and gently shook his head. No. I don't believe it. She turned again, and Rong Rui's fingers moved on the phone, and he was really entering the amount. Ding dong. 10 million was received. She only felt a pain in her heart. She wanted to turn back, but found that it was the limit. Rong Rui glanced at her, faintly, a little proud, shook the phone, and said, You don't believe it? I can transfer it again. Enough. She wanted to die, feeling deeply powerless. She never dreamed that she would meet such a rogue. What was more terrible was that this rogue was not only capable but also king rich. Hey, all the money I have was cheated by you. Now I have no money and no home. If you kick me out, I will go to the police. How long do you think the sentence of 10 million will be? Rong Rui smiled and approached her. 10 years. 20 years. Or longer. She was scared by his sudden approach and shrank back. After finding that he was no longer coming, she sighed. I will go to the bank tomorrow to transfer it back to you. That won't work. I said, if you transfer me 10 million, I will transfer you 20 million, and so on. She was speechless. How rich was this guy? Wouldn't his parents beat him up for spending so much money? She took a deep breath and suddenly had an idea. Her fingers pressed a few times on the phone, and she asked, but this is your money. I can't take it. You forced it on me, and said that if I return it to you, you will sue me for fraud. This makes it very difficult for me. Rolleroy's eyes darkened, and he took a step forward. She was scared and shrank back. Cheng-yu, I'm serious about chasing you. I'm serious about marrying you. Her heart was beating wildly, but she still forced herself to calm down. So, you broke into my house and gave me 10 million as rent. If I didn't take it, you would call the police to arrest me and put me in jail. You are so disgusting. Disgusting. Rolleroy raised his eyebrows, suddenly pushed her, and said, when you forced me to sleep with you, you did not say that. When she heard this, anger instantly rushed to her chest, and she yelled, Bah! Who forced who? You took me to the hotel, didn't you? That's because you need to rest. After entering the hotel room, you took off my clothes first, didn't you? I didn't. You do. You're clearly hinting to me that you don't have a boyfriend, right? Cheng-yu blushed. Then you took off my clothes and pants, didn't you? I don't want to, and you say that I'm pretending. Am I not? Get lost. In order to prove that I'm not pretending, I cooperated with you. Otherwise, do you think I'd like someone like you? Rolleroy looked contemptuous. Anyway, I didn't volunteer that day. Can you be any more shameless? Why not? Rolleroy grinned, got closer, and said in a low voice, use this recording to call the police. Let's see who wins. Cheng-yu's eyes widened. Before she could speak, she was pulled by him. The back of her head was buckled, and then her lips were sealed. Rolleroy took the phone from her hand and the kiss deepened. She felt a little uncomfortable and subconsciously stood on her tiptoes, which made him crazily invade her. Oh. Uncomfortable. Chapter 467. Rolleroy then let go of her. Looking at her blushing face, he straightened his clothes, turned around, and picked up the things he brought. He found a paper bag, threw it to her, and sat on the sofa. She subconsciously took it, a little dazed. Didn't you say you were going to a birthday party? Put it on. What is this? She asked subconsciously, but quickly realized that this guy bought her clothes again. Turning it over, she found that it was a blue dress, a little thick, and the style was very special. She inadvertently glanced at the tag, 8888. She put the dress back and threw it back to him. She said coldly, what do you mean? Want to conquer me with money? No. Rolleroy took out a cigarette from his pocket and put it in his mouth. He did not smoke it, but looked at her with a serious face. I want to conquer you, but not with money, but with people. Taking out a lighter and igniting it, Rolleroy spat out a mouthful of white smoke. Cheng-yu, this is the first time I have pursued a girl. Cheng-yu's heart was uncontrollably agitated, like a sponge swept by a gust of wind, with monstrous waves rolling and surging. But soon, she sneered coldly. Do you think I will believe you? How can Tang Menjing feel when you say that? I have never pursued her. Rolleroy looked at her with a pair of amber eyes and said slowly, I have known Tang Menjing for 10 years, but she has never looked at me. In her heart, there is only Li Xiqing, so I have never tried at all. Because you know it is impossible to succeed, so you think that people like me are easier to pursue and control, right? She looked at him strangely. Rong-rui, I really suspect that you are sick. The psychiatrist who contacted Tang Menjing is not bad. Should I introduce him to you? No, I never thought it was easy to pursue. Women like you are too proud. If I want to conquer you, I must be better than you. Rong-rui took a drag and slowly exhaled. Unfortunately, I happen to be a little better than you, and you don't hate me. Why don't you try? Who said I don't hate you? I hate you so much that I want you dead. If you hate me, you won't sleep with me. He stood up and looked at her. Qingyu, you also like me, don't you? I'm sorry, I'm not interested in a man like you who still has another woman in his heart. I only have you in my heart now. What about Tang Menjing? Do you dare say that you don't love her? I don't. Rong-rui said without hesitation, she killed the previous Rong-rui and you saved the current Rong-rui. Her heart was beating abnormally fast. Looking at his affectionate eyes, she could not say a word of refusal. She didn't seem to dislike him that much. But, then do you love me? Rong-rui was stunned for a moment. Qingyu's eyes dimmed, and there was an indescribable sense of loss in her heart. Qingyu. Don't say any more. You can go. I will return the money to you. Qingyu walked to the edge of the sofa, picked up the phone that Rong-rui had just put down, and said, I was confused that day. Forget it. Anyway, you are not the one who suffered. If I knew that I would be entangled by you because of a one-night stand, would not have used you to f***cku. For so many days, there is not a day that I do not regret it, Rong-rui. Chapter 468. For so many days, there was not a day that I did not regret it, Rong-rui. Every word was terrifyingly calm. Rong-rui felt very uncomfortable, and his heart was very uncomfortable. When he learned that she saved him, he decided to marry her. Maybe it was the bad nature of men. He did not love her, but he just wanted to conquer her. He wanted her to willingly fall into his hands, and then he would smoothly take her home as his wife. But hearing what she said, Rong-rui felt depressed again. She could yell at him, cry at him, and punch and kick him, but not like this. How could she regret it? How could she regret it? She took her phone and went into the bathroom. Locking the bathroom door, she felt sour in her heart. Inexplicably, she had an urge to cry. Looking at herself in the mirror, she had clean short hair and was wearing a stereotypical office lady outfit, not feminine at all. However, she was proud, powerful, and had high standards. She just did not like people like Rong-rui. So what? Bad luck. She picked up the comb and combed her hair, washed her face, and began to put on makeup. About 40 minutes later, she went out, and Rong-rui was still sitting on the sofa. Why haven't you left yet? She was a little annoyed. Mr. Rong, can you be a little more shameless? Rong-rui did not answer her words, but threw the clothes he brought over to her. Put it on, and let's go together. She took the clothes and threw them next to the trash can. With a sneer, she entered the room, opened the closet, and rummaged through the clothes. She found a fairly clean dark blue suit, locked the door, and began to change. When she came out, Rong-rui had disappeared. She walked around and made sure that he had left, picked up her bag, and walked out the door. When they arrived at Palace 1, it was already past 7 o'clock. When Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing arrived, everyone was already there. Yu Lily did not have many friends. She only invited Su Qianxi and Louis Han. The others were completely forced to come by Ming. Of course, He only invited the brothers that he and Yu Lily knew. At this moment, Yu Lily, Qingyu, Luo Zhan, Louis Han, and O Ming were sitting on the sofa. Qingyu and Luo Zhan were singing It's Hard to Love by Anita Mui and Jackie Chung. Su Qianxi was pulled to the sofa by Li Xiqing and watched Yu Lily and Louis Han rolling dice. It didn't take long for Yu Lily to force Louis Han to drink 3 glasses of wine. O Ming was smoking a cigarette and watching them play. After a while, the newly lit cigarette was put out by Li Xiqing. O Ming was dumbfounded. Li Xiqing said lightly, "There's a pregnant woman. Restrain yourself. It's not good for the baby." O Ming was so angry that he laughed. He punched him angrily and scolded, "You're going to be a father soon, so what?" Li Xiqing was in a good mood. Curling his lips, he said, "A little. Tch, sour." O Ming's face was full of disdain. Li Xiqing's eyes were even more curved, and he calmly said, "You're jealous." Su Qianxi watched Yu Lily and Louis Han playing. She climbed over Li Xiqing and sat down next to Louis Han. With a pair of sparkling eyes, she said, "I want to play too." "Okay, if you lose, let your husband drink." The next chapter was a very fun chapter, but it was stuck. "I couldn't finish it before 12 o'clock. Send a notice, and I'll finish it tomorrow afternoon. _. I'm going to work tomorrow. Go to bed early. Good night." Chapter 469. Is that okay? Yu Lily looked at Li Xiqing. Li Xiqing nodded. Su Qianxi took the dice cup from Yu Lily and said, "Don't worry, I will definitely not lose the most." Louis Han drank the most, and his cheeks were already a little red. Hearing what Su Qianxi said, he laughed. "You are the luckiest every time. I will definitely be the one who drinks the most." Sure enough, after a dozen rounds, Louis Han lost 10, Yu Lily lost 6, and Su Qianxi did not even lose 1. Louis Han's face was red. After drinking the last glass of wine, he got up and went to the bathroom. Luo Zhan and Qingyu had stopped singing. They put down their microphones, and Luo Zhan turned around and clapped his hands. "Look, everyone. Today is such a happy day. Why don't we play something exciting?" "What's exciting?" Su Qianxi asked. Luo Zhan chuckled with a sinister look. "Truth or dare?" Hearing that, Qingyu glanced at him contemptuously. "How old are you? Still so childish. You can't say that. I am still a child." Luo Zhan shamelessly took out a deck of cards. "This is the truth or dare card that I worked so hard to get. Come on, let's play together." Su Qianxi blinked, looked at Li Xiqing, and asked, "Honey, do you want to play?" "You want to play?" He never participated in Luo Zhan's retarded games. Su Qianxi nodded and took his hand. "I want to play. Let's play together." "Okay." Yu Lily was also excited and waved at Luo Zhan. "Let me see what kind of cards you have." Luo Zhan chuckled and handed the cards over. Yu Lily casually flipped through 2 cards and exclaimed, "Damn, Luo Zhan, you are so good at playing. Choose any member of the opposite sex to have sex for 10 minutes, and the selected member must not object. What position did you use during your first ML session? Is your current partner the person you love the most? Go and ask the staff for her phone number and book a room, ha 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 ha. This is fun, this is fun. Hey, oh, wanna play together?" O Ming, who was sitting behind her, had already seen the words on the cards clearly. "I have no objection. Anyway, you and I are a couple, and second brother and sister-in-law are a couple. As for the rest, hee." Looking at Luo Zhan, he saw his sneaky look and knew what he was up to. So that was how it was. Oh Ming couldn't help but look at her and clapped his hands. Come on. Just then, the door to the room opened. Everyone's eyes gathered there. Rolleroy's expression did not change. He glanced at Qingyu and walked straight inside. When she saw him, her face changed. Happy birthday, Rolleroy said without sincerity as he handed a gift to Lily. Qingyu was immediately speechless. No wonder when he was at her house, he said he wanted to go with her. It turned out that he did not want to pester her, but came to Lily's birthday. In fact, Lily had seen Rolleroy once, but she did not have a deep impression of him. Seeing him naturally sitting next to Qingyu also did not speak, took the gift, and thanked him. Qingyu leaned in the direction of Luo Zhan, somewhat disgusted with his approach. Chapter 470. Luo Han came out of the bathroom and found that they were all gathered together. He walked over, sat directly next to Li Xiqing, and asked, "Ready to play a game?" "Yes, truth or dare." "Come and sit separately. Don't all crowd together." The sofa was circular, surrounding a large glass table. Luo Zhan divided the cards in his hand into two parts, one was truth, and the other was dare. He broke them up and placed them on both sides of the table. A bottle was placed in the middle. The crowd was dispersed, and everyone formed a circle. Luo Han did not care and said, "In this case, pregnant women first. Qianqian, you go first." Hearing this, Su Qianxi went forward and had a look. Who knew that her luck was not so good, and she was the first one to get a look. Su Qianxi wailed, "Ihan, are you setting me up?" Hearing their intimate address, Li Xiqing felt a bit jealous and squinted at Su Qianxi, slightly warning her. Su Qianxi shrank her head, completely not knowing what had made him unhappy. Luo Zhan asked, "Truth or dare?" "Truth, dare is too exciting." Then she reached for the card and looked at it, blushing. "Can I change it to dare?" "No." Luo Zhan took the card from her hand, laughed, and read it out. "Are you having a good sex life with your partner? How long is the highest record? How many times a night?" Su Qianxi was about to cry. She turned her head and pulled Li Xiqing's sleeve. "I don't want to play anymore." How could she say such a thing? Li Xiqing glanced at Luo Zhan, very elegantly unbuttoning his cufflinks, and asked, "Where did you get such a lewd thing? Don't tell me this is the content of all the books." Of course, Luo Zhan had spent a lot in order to pick up a girl. However, how could she say such a thing? Luo Zhan did not change his expression and retorted, "Do you mean you want to be shameless? Sister-in-law, answer him. Don't be afraid of him. It doesn't matter even if he is a second man. Say it." "Do I really have to say it?" Su Qianxi blushed, grabbed Li Xiqing's hand, and looked at him for help. "Go ahead." With a smile in his eyes, Li Xiqing glanced at Luo Han. "It's not shameful." Luo Han avoided his eyes and took a sip of water. The back of his hand that was holding the cup was so tight that his veins stood out. Su Qianxi blushed and said in a low voice, "I can't remember the time. It should be half an hour, or an hour." "How many times a night?" Lily asked excitedly. 5, 6 or 7. "Is that 5, 6, or 7? 7, 8 times. He took a sip of water and cleared his throat. She punched him in the leg. "Of course not." "Yes, after the shower, I came again." Su Qianxi blushed even more. Covering her face, she leaned on the sofa and shouted, "Stop it." Everyone laughed, and Luo Han also curled his lips, but it was a bit forced. Lily clearly saw it and asked Su Qianxi to turn again. This time, it was Luo Han's turn. Chapter 471. Luo Zhan took the card and read it out with a smile. Find a person at the scene to bang against the wall for 3 minutes. The more he read, the more he felt a sense of crisis. At the scene, Yu Lily and Su Qianxi could not be touched. So, only Qingyu was left. Oh my god. No, Assistant Qingyu was his. Luo Zhan calmed down and said, how about another one? No. How can this be? Su Qianxi protested. Why not me? You can change it for him. That's right. Yu Lily echoed. How can this be? You can't change it. Rong Rui straightened up and put his hand on Qingyu's side. It was not a big movement, but Qingyu's heart jumped inexplicably. Lui Han pursed his lips and said after a long time, then I will drink. Okay, finish it. Yu Lily took out the half bottle of whiskey and raised her chin provocatively. Damn. Luo Zhan lost his voice. Qingyu was scared. That's too cruel. Lily, this is not good. Su Qianxi said. After drinking half a bottle of whiskey, she would be dead. Yu Lily did not think there was anything wrong and said confidently, well, if you don't follow the rules, you will be punished. Looking for her. Wasn't it just banging against the wall? Wasn't it just ***? She was here. You can find anyone, and the chosen person cannot refuse, otherwise. Yu Lily slammed the bottle on the ground. Finish it. Lui Han turned around with a painful look, and then looked around the crowd. Li Xiqing held his wife in his arms. There was no expression on his cold face, but the warning was overflowing. Yu Lily looked at him with a pair of big eyes, but he knew what she was thinking about him, but she already had a boyfriend, didn't she? Lui Han finally looked at Qingyu. Rong Rui and Luo Zhan both looked at him with a warning look. Ah, she. Lui Han was in a dilemma. He reached out and scratched his head, and finally pulled Luo Zhan next to him. Luo Zhan looked like he had seen a ghost. He was pulled and suddenly pressed against the wall. The crowd exclaimed. Luo Zhan only felt something soft pressed against his lips, and his whole person was stunned. ******, Rong Rui lightly reminded. Lui Han looked like he was in pain and stuck out his tongue. Luo Zhan had a disgusted expression on his face and clenched his teeth tightly. The chosen ones can't refuse, Rong Rui said again. *****. Was Rong Rui sick? Luo Zhan cursed in his heart, but he still kept his teeth closed. Finally, 3 minutes were up. Lui Han immediately pushed him away and turned his head to the side. Ew, Luo Zhan had the same reaction, and both of them retched at the same time. Su Qianxi burst out laughing, grabbing his arm and laughing so hard that she almost cramped up. Oh Ming was the most impolite. He laughed the loudest and said, Luo Zhan, if your old Luo knew what happened today, he would break your legs. Yu Lily, on the other hand, couldn't laugh anymore. She looked at Lui Han's direction and picked up the glass of water. Oh Ming clearly noticed Yu Lily's strangeness and glanced at her. Then his eyes fell on Lui Han, and his eyes suddenly became deep. Lui Han did not spit out anything and continued to spin the bottle. This time, it was Oh Ming. Oh Ming leaned over to pick up a truth card and threw it to Luo Zhan. Chapter 472. Yes, I do. Oh Ming did not hesitate and looked at Yu Lily. Yu Lily was drinking water, not knowing what expression she had. Oh Ming quickly looked away, picked up the bottle, and turned it again. This time, it was Rong Rui, who was still relatively unfamiliar to everyone. Rong Rui directly took a truth card and threw it to Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan was puzzled. Since when did he become a spokesperson? What is the most shameful thing you have done in your life? Unexpected question. Rue was a little disappointed. He thought about it and replied, probably when I tried to please a woman, but was thrown out like a rag by that woman. Then he glanced at Qingyu. She pretended not to understand and sneered, so you deserve to end up like this because of Tang Menjing. She mentioned Tang Menjing again. Rue was not happy and said calmly, Qingyu, you know who I am talking about. Something was wrong. Luo Zhan pricked up his ears and looked at Rue, feeling very uncomfortable. Could it be that this guy had already gotten his hands on Special Assistant Qing? It shouldn't be. Qingyu was so difficult to deal with and had such high standards. Luo Zhan had not succeeded yet. Rue had so many dark history. Why? Qingyu ignored him. Rue continued to turn the bottle, and the next one was Li Xiqing. Luo Zhan waved his hand and said, don't choose truth. It's too boring. Choose dare. Hearing that, Li Xiqing's hand, which was about to flip dare, immediately turned to flip the truth. Luo Zhan asked, damn. What is the most touching thing your partner has done? Li Xiqing looked at Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi bowed her head slightly. She did not seem to have done anything particularly romantic. Li Xiqing reached out and took her in his arms. His voice was low and gentle as he said, she is still alive. Just 4 words, but Su Qianxi felt a mix of emotions. An inexplicable throbbing burst out from the depths of her soul and instantly soaked her whole body. Su Qianxi looked up at his eyes. His eyes were extremely deep, like the vast starry night in the Antarctic, so bright and gorgeous that she was mesmerized. That's it. Luo Zhan was a little surprised. Okay, he responded in a low voice. Her eyes were already red, and she hugged him back. Hey, don't be like this. The single dog is still here. Luo Zhan covered his eyes. Li Xiqing slightly pursed his lips and turned the bottle. This time, it was Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan was a little excited. He rubbed his hands and chose dare. If he was lucky, maybe he could choose to have sex with the opposite sex, or do push-ups on the opposite sex. Then he would go directly to Qingyu. He. Just thinking about it made him a little excited. However, as soon as he picked up the card, Luo Zhan was stunned. Lu Yihan grabbed the cards and laughed. 5 minutes of coquettish moaning on the spot. Ha 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 ha. Hearing this, the others also convulsed with laughter. Luo Zhan stood up angrily. That's not fair. Why can't I choose a partner for my dare? I can only do it myself. Besides, I've never done it before. How can I do it? Oh. Yu Lily started to make a fuss. It turns out to be an old virgin. Ha ha ha. Luo Zhan blushed and said confidently, what? What's wrong? This means that I don't do it. I am a very good man. Dash. Chapter 473. I don't care. Come on. Oh Ming waved his hand. Do you want to be shameless? Luo Zhan felt his heart hurt, and at the same time, he felt cold. He sat down again and faced everyone's expectant or gloating gazes. He retracted his legs and leaned back on the sofa. His eyes were blurry and he crossed one hand in front of his chest. Biting his lower lip, he rubbed his leg seductively. Ah. Oh, ha 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 ha. Su Qianxi was laughing in Li Xiqing's arms. Li Xiqing also looked at Luo Zhan. Ah. Luo Zhan touched his head and let out a long and coquettish moan. It hurts my eyes. Enough. Louis Han couldn't stand it anymore and covered his eyes. However, Luo Zhan seemed to be deliberately against him and screamed even louder. Oh! Ah! Ah! What the hell? How can there be so many strange sounds? Oh Ming waved his hand and roared. Enough, enough. Don't hurt our ears. Yu Lily laughed and lay on the sofa, laughing so hard that her stomach hurt. Qing Yu covered her mouth and laughed so hard that her whole body was convulsing. In the end, she couldn't help but fall sideways. Seeing her inadvertently leaning on him, Rong Rui smiled slightly and pretended not to know, looking in the direction of Luo Zhan. Seeing this, Luo Zhan immediately sat up, reached out, and pulled Qing Yu, saying, "Okay, sit down. Don't fall." Then, he took the bottle and turned it again. This time, it was Yu Lily. Yu Lily was still laughing. Seeing everyone looking at her, she suddenly understood and said, "Dare. Do all you can to seduce any member of the opposite sex except the target, and sit on the lap of the opposite sex for a round." Seduce. Yu Lily raised her eyebrows. Except the target? Yes. Su Qianxi heard that and said, "How do you seduce?" "No," Oh Ming said with a cold face, "change it." "How can you do that?" "You have to abide by the rules of the game, or it will be boring," Luo Zhan said vindicatively. "Sister-in-law, let's start. Who do you want to seduce?" She stood up and looked around. Her eyes first fell on Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi immediately covered his face like she was protecting a child and yelled, "No." Li Xiqing curled his lips, took her hand down, and agreed, "No." Yu Lily shrugged and walked toward Louis Han. Oh Ming held her hand. His pair of peach blossom eyes looked at her as if they were dipped in poison. Yu Lily was a little scared, but this might really be the only chance. Yu Lily shook his hand off and said, "It's just a game. Don't mind it." Louis Han saw her walking toward him and felt a little uneasy. She glanced at Oh Ming and cleared her throat. "Lily, do you want another one?" For the time being, Louis Han could not afford to provoke someone like Oh Ming. What if he misunderstood that she wanted to steal his woman? Yu Lily walked over and pushed his shoulder. She bent down and bent one of her thighs to kneel between his crotch. Such a sexy scene made Su Qianxi's eyes widen. "Are you really going to do it?" Chapter 474. Yu Lily also knew that she couldn't go too far, so she just stared at him for a few seconds. After noticing the shock and fear in his eyes, Yu Lily's red lips curled up, and she gently licked her red lips. She stared at him and then narrowed her eyes. Yu Lily. He couldn't stand it anymore, stood up, and roared. She straightened up and turned her head. "It's just a joke. Why are you in such a hurry?" Then she sat on Louis Han's lap, took the bottle, and began to spin it. This time, it was Li Xiqing again. This time, Li Xiqing took the dare and threw it to Luo Zhan. Luo Zhan read the words on it. "Feed your partner bananas. 10 minutes for one." Fortunately, it was not a restricted level. Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief, but, for some reason, Yu Lily burst out laughing. Luo Zhan also laughed very unkindly. "Eat bananas for 10 minutes, sister-in-law." Su Qianxi was a bit confused and said, "What are you laughing at? Wasn't it just eating a banana? 10 minutes, one banana, 10 minutes. Luo Zhan rubbed his hands and soon went to get a few bananas. "Come on." Li Xiqing glanced at him and said, "Your sister-in-law is shy. Why don't you let her feed me?" "No. That would be boring." Yu Lily shouted. "Let Qian Qian do it." I have not seen Qian eat bananas yet. Hearing their words, Su Qianxi suddenly realized and immediately blushed. Li Xiqing slowly took a banana, quickly peeled it, and said, "Come on." Su Qianxi blushed and stared at the banana for a long time. The countdown starts, sister-in-law. This one takes 10 minutes. Su Qianxi opened her mouth, put the banana in her mouth, and took a small bite. However, although it was a small bite, it was already 1/10 of the banana. How could she eat it for 10 minutes? Don't stop, continue. Luo Zhan shouted. She chewed, looked up and down, and took another small bite. The smile on Li Xiqing's face grew wider and wider as he whispered, "You can take a bigger bite and spit it out if you can't finish it." Hearing that, Su Qianxi immediately understood what he meant and punched him. He opened his mouth and took another small bite. In the blink of an eye, less than 2 minutes had passed, but more than half of the banana was gone. Su Qianxi was a little anxious and said, "Aren't you bullying me? You won't let me stop. You want me to keep eating. How can I eat for 10 minutes? Sure, use another way." Luo Zhan chuckled. For example, swallow the rest in one gulp. Su Qianxi's face was red. Seeing the expectant expressions around her, she opened her mouth and slowly swallowed it. Yu Lily looked at the direction of Su Qianxi with interest. Suddenly, she felt Luihan move under her, and then something quietly rose behind her. Luihan reached out and pushed her, his voice a little hoarse. "Go back." Yu Lily turned her head and looked at him deeply. Just now, she sat on his lap for so long, and he did not have any reaction. Now Su Qianxi just took a bite of the banana, and he actually. Chapter 475. Her voice was very low, and only the two of them could hear it. Luihan froze slightly, looked up, and knew that she had found out when he saw her expression. His face was burning, but he no longer stood on ceremony and pushed her. "Young Master O, take her back." He raised an eyebrow and looked at her. Yu Lily snorted and walked back in the direction of O Ming. Only 5 minutes later, the banana in front of her was almost gone. Su Qianxi squeezed Li Xiqing's hand anxiously. "What should we do?" Li Xiqing bit off the last piece of banana and put it in his mouth. Su Qianxi's eyes widened, but before she could say anything, he took her in his arms, clasped her head with his big hand, and fed her with his mouth. Su Qianxi looked at him, opened her mouth, and took a bite. He ate the rest, and then put his lips on hers. From a light kiss, he soon wiped out the banana in his mouth. However, he still did not let go, but pressed her on the back of the sofa, his big hand around her waist, no different from usual. Provocative and wild. Luo Zhan, the single man, felt his heart aching and shouted, Hey, that's enough." Rong Rui subconsciously looked at Qingyu. He saw her looking at them, her hands intertwined, and her face blushed. Seeming to notice his gaze, she turned her head to look at him. Seeing his amber eyes, she immediately looked away. Su Qianxi was kissed senseless. When he let her go, she was already panting and lying in front of him. Luo Zhan glanced at the time and was speechless. Just 10 minutes. He took her in his arms and whispered with a smirk, "How do you feel?" Su Qianxi looked up at him and patted him. "There are so many people," he chuckled. "Then we can continue after we go back and close the door." Su Qianxi's face was even redder, and she covered her face. Li Xiqing smiled, stretched out his hand, and turned the bottle again. The mouth of the bottle slowly turned, and finally, it fell on Qingyu, the only one who had not won. She coughed and thought for a moment. Or, dare. Luo Zhan looked at her with sparkling eyes. Special Assistant Ching, truth has a lot of taboo topics. Let's play dare. You don't have a partner anyway, so don't be afraid. Qingyu originally wanted to choose truth, but after hearing what Luo Zhan said, she felt that it made sense. She reached out and grabbed a handful of dare. Luo Zhan took it excitedly and read the words on it. Choose any member of the opposite sex and kiss them passionately. As soon as he finished thinking, Luo Zhan suddenly felt that his life was bright. Heavens, spring is really coming. Happiness came too suddenly, and he wasn't ready to deal with it. Ah! Wait, be more reserved, be more reserved. Luo Zhan looked at Qingyu with sparkling eyes. Qingyu's lips twitched. Looking at the words on the card, she clenched her fist and mercilessly knocked on his head. Asshole! You tricked me. Luo Zhan held his head and wailed, but soon moved excitedly to her side and said, No, you should believe that this is the fate that God gave us, right? I am such a handsome man by your side, and God let you choose me. Qingyu, come on, ravage me. I am ready. I am willing. With that, he opened his arms to Qingyu, with a heroic and stirring look on his face, but the smile on his face could not be stopped. Dash. Chapter 476. Qingyu looked at him, twitched her lips, and punched him in the chest. Go away. I'm serious. Luo Zhan wailed. Really, Qingyu? Seeing such a scene in front of him, Rong Rui's eyes were cold. Without saying a word, he reached out and pulled her over. Dumbfounded, Luo Zhan reached out to grab her other hand and said, What do you want to do? So direct? Wasn't it too obvious to steal a woman? I should be the one asking you what you want to do. Rong Rui did not intend to back down at all. Looking at Luo Zhan, he said, Qingyu has been with me for a long time. Luo Zhan was struck by lightning and blurted out, Aren't you pursuing her? Although the words were directed at Rong Rui, his eyes were looking at Qingyu. Qingyu's face was cold, and she immediately wanted to get rid of Rong Rui's hand. But how could Rong Rui let go? Instead, he tightened his grip on her hand. Qingyu tried to take back the hand that Luo Zhan was holding, but Luo Zhan was not willing to let go. Qingyu frowned deeply and shouted impatiently, It hurts. Let go, okay. Luo Zhan immediately let go of her hand. Seeing the red marks on her hand, he looked apologetic. Sorry, Qingyu, I didn't mean to. Qingyu looked at Rong Rui with a cold face. Seeing Luo Zhan let go, Rong Rui also let go. Two men fighting for a woman. The scene was a bit intense. Su Qianxi looked at their different expressions and sympathized with Luo Zhan. In fact, Rong Rui had already succeeded. However, were Qingyu and Rong Rui quarreling now? Qingyu picked up the card and looked at it. She smiled and reached out to take the half bottle of whiskey that she had just used to scare people. Everyone was shocked. Yu Lily's eyes widened, and she pressed the bottle and said, Sister, are you serious? Really? Luo Zhan was a good man, really a good man. Qingyu knew his character. If she was still the old Qingyu, maybe she would really consider it, but now, she could not go to Rong Rui. That guy wanted her to be with him. In that case, she could no longer get rid of him. Rather than that, she might as well drink this half bottle of wine and let fate take its course. Taking the bottle, she removed the lid and poured it into her mouth. Luo Zhan was frightened and quickly grabbed the bottle from her hand. However, she had already drunk several mouthfuls, and her face was red. Su Qianxi also stood up and said, Well, it's just a game. Why so serious? Luo Zhan held the bottle in his hand with a bitter face. He nodded repeatedly and said, "Let's not play anymore. In fact, it's not fun. This game is too wretched. I really don't know who came up with it." Qingyu chuckled and looked at Luo Zhan. "Isn't it your idea? I think you did it on purpose, didn't you?" Seeing her smile, Luo Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. Just as he was about to say something, he heard Rongrui say, "Who said that? So many people didn't cheat just now. It's your turn to cheat. It's not very good." Hearing that, she turned to look at him. Rongrui was looking at her with deep eyes. He stretched out his hand, took the bottle from Luo Zhan's hand, raised his head, and gulped it down. Chapter 477. Slamming the empty bottle on the table, Rongrui's cheeks were slightly red, and he took a breath. His lips were bright red. "I apologize for what happened the day before yesterday." Then he walked toward the door. Qingyu looked at his back and asked, "Where are you going?" There was no response. "I'm going to have a look." Qingyu picked up her bag and chased after him. Luo Zhan felt that his sincere heart had been completely crushed into pieces by Rongrui's scheming means. Luo Zhan clutched his heart and slumped on the sofa, looking up at the ceiling in despair. He sniffed and said sadly, "Did you hear that?" "What?" Su Qianxi asked cooperatively. "Oh." Luo Zhan wailed, clutching his heart. "The sound of my heart breaking." Rongrui walked very fast. When Qingyu walked out, he was already gone. She ran all the way to catch up with him. When she saw his back, he had already entered the elevator. She hurriedly pressed the button, and the elevator door was opened again. She gasped slightly, looked at him, and walked in. Rongrui drank a little too much, and he finished it in one breath. The effect of the alcohol came quickly, and in such a short time, Rongrui's face had already become red. Walking out of the door of Palace No. 1, the cold wind blew, and Rongrui's footsteps slightly swayed. Qingyu immediately went to hold him and scolded, "Why are you pretending when you can't drink? Is it interesting?" Rongrui did not answer. Instead, he held her hand and looked at her with his amber eyes. But soon, he closed them. "My head hurts, nonsense." Qingyu yelled at him and helped him find his car. The alcohol she had just drunk was too strong. At this moment, her footsteps were a little unstable, and her head was dizzy. Rongrui noticed her strangeness and took her car key. "Don't drive. It's dangerous. Take a taxi." Then, he had reached out and stopped an empty taxi. Rongrui was sent to the back seat by Qingyu. When she was about to leave, she was pulled in. Qingyu exclaimed, and when she came back to her senses, the door had been closed. Rongrui told her the address, which was Qingyu's. After paying the fare and getting off, Rongrui became more dizzy, and so did Qingyu. Seeing the gate of the community where she lived, she was in a trance. Why did she bring Rongrui over? Strange, let's go. Rongrui pulled her. His steps were not steady, but he still knew the way. Entering the elevator and finding her door, Rongrui reached into her bag for the key. She was a little dizzy. After he took out the key, she suddenly felt something was wrong. "You still want to go in?" "I paid rent." Rongrui chuckled and pushed her in. She was very dizzy. After being pushed by him, she obediently walked back into the room and fell down when she saw the bed. However, she felt a weight on her body and opened her eyes. It was Rongrui. Rongrui's face was flushed, but his eyes were clear. She was in a trance. Looking at him, she didn't know how to react and just stared at him blankly. Rongrui leaned down and kissed her lips from behind. Their bodies fell down and they rolled on the single bed. Being kissed so suddenly, her consciousness suddenly sobered up and she immediately struggled. Chapter 478. After Su Qianxi and the others stopped playing, they went to eat. Luo Zhan was not in a good mood and deliberately quarreled with Louis Han. After a few words, the two of them began to quarrel with each other again. Su Qianxi looked at the two of them speechlessly while eating, picked up a piece of lobster meat, and fed it to Li Xiqing. O Ming saw Su Qianxi's action and glanced at Yu Lily. Yu Lily had just picked up a piece of meat and was about to put it in her mouth. Noticing O Ming's gaze, she immediately turned the chopsticks. Come on, aw. O Ming ate with satisfaction, but saw Luo Zhan had become resentful again, looking at Louis Han. Come on, aw. Louis Han was speechless and slapped him. F*ck off. Luo Zhan was slapped directly on the table and cried, there is no justice. Why can't a handsome man like me find a girlfriend? I finally fell in love with one, but she ran away with someone else. It's so unfair. Louis Han snorted, took a sip from the beer bottle, and said, I don't have a girlfriend either. I am more handsome than you, taller than you, and stronger than you. If you want to be single, I will be ahead of you. How old are you? 22 years old, a good time, and I am already 27. Ah. After crying, Luo Zhan suddenly looked up. How about we make do with each other? You can clean up and cook. I don't mind that you are a man. Okay. Louis Han ate the meat with his chopsticks, chewing and said, one day you can change your personality, and then come back to see if I am blind. What if you are lucky? Damn, my face, this face, do I need plastic surgery? Ah, do I? Luo Zhan pointed to his face and said fiercely. Louis Han held the bottle for a long time before nodding seriously. Very much. Luo Zhan said. I don't want to live, then go to hell. But I have not married yet. Give up. There are not many blind people in this world. Can't you comfort me? Ah. Louis Han also realized that his words might have been a bit harsh. He hesitated and said, in fact, there are quite a lot of blind people. Luo Zhan almost flipped the table and left. Su Qianxi and Yu Lily were both laughing. Looking at the two of them, the two women exchanged a look. After the meal, they soon parted ways. Luo Zhan and Louis Han both drank a little too much. After the two guys went home with their wives, the two brothers also hugged each other and stumbled on their way home. Louis Han patted him on the shoulder, his drunken face full of righteousness. We are all in the same boat. I'm having an affair. Louis Han couldn't help but laugh. Have you ever been educated? Tisk, so what if you know ancient poems? I also memorized them when I was in primary school. Seriously, you've lived for 27 years, and you really haven't had a single girlfriend? No, what about F*ck? When Luo Zhan heard these two words, he immediately recovered and shouted, F*ck, that kind of thing, I don't even want to touch that kind of thing. If his mother knew, she would definitely break his legs. Tsk, I really suspect that you are gay. Stay away from me. Then she reached out and pushed him away. Luo Zhan did not let it go and stuck to her again, tiptoeing and forcing himself to put his shoulder. I also suspect that you are gay. You are so handsome, why don't you have a girlfriend? Finally admit that I am more handsome than you. A little bit. Tsk, you haven't answered my question. Well. There is a girl, I have loved her for 8 years. She doesn't like you. No, I have not told her. Louis Han looked into the distance, a bit absent-minded. She is so simple that she is a bit stupid. If I do not tell her, she will not understand. Hey, you think I can't see that you like the wife of your second brother, right? That girl for 8 years is Su Chinsi, right? How do you know? Come on, you are not blind. Whenever you are free at night, you stare at her and ask her first before you do anything. Even a fool can see that. Is that so? I am used to it. It used to be like this. She used to say that I was her best friend. Poor. Luo Zhan looked sympathetic. Why didn't you confess? Maybe if you did, she would have chosen you. Hearing that, Louis Han was dazed for a moment and then smiled bitterly. My family is poor, and I wanted to wait until I had my own career before pursuing her. I did not expect that. She got married so soon. Chapter 479. Okay. Okay, I'm home. You can go back. Luo Zhan waved at him, reached into his trouser pocket, and suddenly stopped. Seeing his reaction, Louis Han asked, "What's wrong?" Luo Zhan searched several pockets and said with a desperate look, "I don't seem to have the key." Louis Han looked at the time, and it was already past 12 o'clock in the morning. It's so late. Can you find a locksmith? There are no hotels nearby. How about staying at my house for a night? Your house? Well, I'll pay you back for taking me in for one night last time. Humph. Let's go. Luo Zhan paced, his movements neither fast nor slow. When he arrived at Louis Han's house, Luo Zhan realized that the distance between their houses was very close. It took less than 10 minutes to walk. As soon as he entered the door, Luo Zhan was amazed. From the entrance, there was a shoe cabinet, which was neatly lined with all kinds of beautiful sneakers and leather shoes. Further inside, the white sofa was as clean as new, with a fruit plate and a laptop on the coffee table. The white dining table was covered with an elegant tablecloth, and in the middle of the tablecloth, there was a vase with 2 green roses on it. It was very fresh, with a fresh smell and a fresh environment. On the wall of the living room, there were photo frames. There were Louis Han himself, Su Qianxi, his work partners, and Yu Lily when he was in his school uniform. Luo Zhan looked around and went into the kitchen. He found that the whole house was clean and spotless, and all the tableware in the kitchen was upside down on the shelf. Opening the refrigerator, Luo Zhan took a bottle of Coke and drank it directly. When he came out, he shouted exaggeratedly, "God, is this a man's house? You live alone?" "Yes." Louis Han glanced at his expression and threw the clothes he took from his house last time at him with contempt. "Do you think it's like your dog house?" Luo Zhan took it and smelled the fragrance on the clothes. His expression was very complicated. "Compared with yours, mine is really a doghouse." And there was no comparison at all, okay? Louis Han raised his eyebrows and said, "I'll clean up a guest room for you. You go take a shower first." "All right." Luo Zhan experienced the pleasure of being a guest, but when he was about to enter the bathroom, his phone suddenly rang with an emergency notification. "Warning, the prey has entered the net. Please retract the net." Luo Zhan raised his eyebrows and muttered to himself, "Finally." Then he shouted, "Louis Han, let me use your computer." "Okay, just don't delete my stuff." Luo Zhan got the nod, immediately turned on the computer, and directly entered the trap he had already set for that person. About 10 minutes later, Luo Zhan copied all the information and sent it to Li Xiqing before calling him. It was already past 1 a.m., and Li Xiqing seemed to have fallen asleep. It was a long time before he was picked up. Luo Zhan said quickly, "Do you remember the last time you asked me to find Tang Zhenghao?" Li Xiqing was originally sleepy, but he immediately woke up after hearing what Su Qianxi said. Found it. Yes, he finally used that card. I just captured his location. He's in San Francisco, USA. Since that's the case, let's take away all of his available funds and spread the news. So fast. Luo Zhan was surprised. Yes, she's pregnant. I don't want any more accidents. The sooner the Tang family is dealt with, the sooner I can be at ease. Although the Tang family had fallen, if Tang Zhenghao was left alone, there would be too many variables. Instead of being passive, it was better to take the initiative. Only by striking first could he smoothly control the overall situation, right? Luo Zhan knew him very well, so he nodded and did not say more. Got it. Leave it to me. Thank you. Li Xiqing said the last sentence, hung up the phone, and tiptoed back to the room. Su Qianxi was sleepy. Feeling him, she subconsciously reached out and hugged him. Her breathing was still even and steady. Li Xiqing chuckled and reached out to brush away the stray hair on her forehead. She had already completely gotten used to his presence. How nice. Dash. Chapter 480. Su Qianxi had a good sleep, but it was not enough. It was definitely not a good feeling to be woken up early in the morning. Feeling that his hand was pinching her nose, she frowned and slapped him. However, she was caught firmly and lifted up. She opened her eyes with a pout. After seeing Li Xiqing, her head drooped again. I'm so sleepy. Sleep on the plane. Li Xiqing pulled her up. We're going to the capital today. Did you forget? No. I'm not going. Let's go tomorrow. Then she burrowed into the quilt. Li Xiqing was speechless. You will say the same thing tomorrow. Get up. I'll help you change. She put her arm on him. I will vomit on the plane. You told Rong Haiyue yesterday that you would arrive this afternoon. Are you going to break your promise? Hearing this, she finally straightened up and let him help her take off her clothes. Li Xiqing tapped her nose. You are getting lazier. Although he said so, he still patiently helped her change. From the beginning to the end, she did not even look up. Done. Oh. She immediately opened her eyes, got out of bed, and went to the bathroom. After washing, Li Xiqing had already prepared her bag in a small suitcase with a few pieces of clothing in it. Let's go. Wait for me. I'll put on some makeup. No makeup. Pregnant women should stay away from these things. But I look so pale. Look at my face. She complained. It's pale and yellow. So ugly. Not ugly. You look better than many people with makeup. Really? Really? Then I'll put on some lipstick. However, Li Xiqing walked up and took her lipstick away. Picking her up, he shouted, Let's go. Eat first and then leave. She pouted, but she was not as strong as him, so she had to give up. After breakfast, Li Xiqing took a taxi to the airport. On the plane, Su Qianxi could not fall asleep and called, Honey. The more I think about it, the more I feel that our children might really be twins. Last night, I dreamed that a little boy and a little girl came to play with me. They asked you to name them. Li Xiqing heard her words and turned his head. His face, which had always been cold, seemed to have a smile. I'll take it. Yes. She looked at him expectantly. Grandpa will definitely name them. You can give them pet names. Hearing this, Li Xiqing pondered for a moment. Su Qianxi could not wait any longer and said, How about Li Debao and Li Erbao? Li Xiqing was silent for a second and looked at her. Then, Baby Li, Li Bebe. Su Qianxi changed another one. Isn't that what children usually have? Lie down and let me think about it. Obviously, he did not like the name she had given him. Puffing her cheeks unhappily, she threw the blanket away and turned her back on him. Li Xiqing smiled, leaned on the chair, and thought. It took 3 hours to get from Kingstown to the capital. When they arrived at the Capital International Airport, it was already noon. Chapter 481. Be careful. Li Xiqing held her. Let's go down and talk. Okay. Su Qianxi was taken off the plane by him. After they took their luggage, they took a taxi to the hotel they had booked. The weather in the north was cold, and the surrounding trees were all bare. Looking into the distance, all he could see was a stretch of gray. This was the legendary haze. Su Qianxi looked back and saw that Li Xiqing was actually searching for the children's nicknames. She took a look and said, I thought of another one. Xiao Si, Xiao Qing. Xiqing. Li Xiqing chuckled, turned off the phone, and said, Xiao Qian, Xiao Xi. Yes, yes. Then Desu, Ursu. No, uncle, it sounds so bad. The driver in the front laughed. Su Qianxi blushed slightly and patted Li Xiqing. Change it. We're here. Let's get out first. We'll talk later. Li Xiqing opened the door and took her out. This was a hotel. Li Xiqing carried their luggage and walked in with Su Qianxi. After the couple booked a suite and had dinner, they went to the home address that Rong Haiyue had given them. The place where Rong Haiyue lived belonged to the capital military area. The hotel they stayed in was the best hotel near where he lived. Su Qianxi and Li Xiqing bought some gifts before walking in that direction. Suddenly, Su Qianxi inadvertently looked back and saw a smooth and soft white BMW driving past. The profile of the driver's seat was extremely familiar. There was a bit of traffic on the road, and the car was driving very slowly. Su Qianxi looked over, and the person in the driver's seat seemed to feel her gaze and looked over. Rong Xian saw that it was her, slightly dazed, but quickly turned back indifferently and rolled up the window, blocking Su Qianxi's view. What's wrong? Li Xiqing saw that she did not leave and whispered. Do you see that woman? Su Qianxi pointed to the BMW. It's Rong Xian. Li Xiqing saw the car, and his eyes suddenly became obscure. He gently pulled her. The Rong family is nearby. Let's go. Rong Haiyue was practicing shooting with his daughter in the backyard. When he received the call, he was pleasantly surprised. Anna, let's go. I'll take you to meet someone. Where to? Rong Anna put down the gun and followed. At the door. I'll bring them in. Rong Haiyue seemed to be in a good mood and walked quickly. Rong Anna hadn't seen Rong Haiyue so happy for a long time. The last time he was in such a good mood was a few years ago when her mother suddenly bought him a scarf. He's here. When Rong Haiyue opened the door, he saw Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi standing not far away, talking. Seeing Rong Haiyue, he took Su Qianxi's hand and walked over to them. Mr. Rong. Su Qianxi called and looked at Rong Anna behind Rong Haiyue. Hello, Miss Rong. When Rong Anna saw Su Qianxi's face, she immediately recognized her. Her eyes were not big, but they were extremely charming. There seemed to be something different. She seemed a little surprised. It's you. Su Qianxi did not know if it was an illusion, but she felt that Rong Anna's eyes were a bit strange. Was it because she looked like Rong Xian? Chapter 482. Come in and sit down, Rong Haiyue greeted them. You just arrived. Yes. Have you eaten? Rong Haiyue took the gift from Li Xiqing. Yes, I just ate in the hotel, Su Qianxi replied. As soon as she was ushered in, she was attracted by the photo on the big cabinet at the door. It was a family photo that had been enlarged. Rong Anna's smile was like a flower, and Rong Haiyue's face had a faint but heartfelt smile of satisfaction. On the far right of them, the expression of the woman seemed a little distant and cold. In this photo, she seemed out of place. That is my wife, Rong Haiyue explained. Doesn't she look a bit like you? Rong Xian, Su Qianxi said. It turns out that the last time she was in Kingstown Hospital, she went to see you. You met her? Yes, when I was in the hospital, I first went to see you that night, and I met her in the hallway. She looked a bit cold. She has always been like this. Rong Anna smiled and served them tea. The nanny went home for the new year. I don't know how to make tea. I hope you don't mind. This is my daughter, Rong Anna. She is 21 years old this year, and should be 1 or 2 years younger than you. She can be considered your sister. Maybe you can become good friends. If she is 21 years old, she is the same age as me. Su Qianxi felt she was old. I am 21 years old, and my birthday is in October. I am not much older than her, right? Rong Haiyue was dazed. Aren't you the daughter of Song Yifan? You should be 22 or 23 years old, right? Rong Xian returned to him 22 years ago. With Su Qianxi's face, he could already tell that she was her daughter. If she was the child of her and Song Yifan, then the child should be at least 22 years old. How could she be 21? How old she is none of your business. A cold voice came in, and the sound of high heels sounded. Do you still want to nibble on young grass at such an old age? The voice was cold and not polite. Vaguely, there was even a bit of contempt. She is the same age as your daughter. Rong Haiyue, you are too crazy. Everyone turned their heads almost at the same time and saw the elegant and gorgeous lady at a glance. Rong Xian was wearing a sapphire blue cashmere coat with a thick ankle-length cheongsam inside. She was wearing high-heeled shoes that were at least 5 centimeters high, looking elegant and noble. Rong Xian. Rong Haiyue shouted. He already had a terrible guess in his heart. Could it be, you can go back? Rong Xian looked at Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi. We need to deal with our family affairs. It is not convenient for outsiders to be present, so we will not see you out. Su Qianxi looked at her and couldn't help comparing her with the Rong Xian in Song Yifan's photo. Thinking of what Song Yifan had been through all these years, Su Qianxi felt angry. She stood up and asked, Rong Xian, are you Rong Xian? Rong Xian obviously had no intention of paying attention to her. Her expression was cold. My grandmother asked me to pass a message to you when I see you. When Rong Xian heard that, she turned her head and looked over. There was a trace of emotion on her cold face. She asked, your grandmother? Chapter 483. That was what Mrs. Song had said to her in tears. That white-haired old man had a hunched back and suffered from mild dementia, but he had never forgotten about Rong Xian. Did the instigator repent? Hearing that, Rong Xian did not seem to be moved at all. Glancing at Su Qianxi coldly, she sneered, why should I repent? Song Yifan did not want to remarry. What does that have to do with me? Others can live well without me. Why should I be blamed for the destruction of the Song family? Go back and tell Song Yifan that I, Rong Xian, never owed him anything. Although it was an expected attitude, when Su Qianxi heard that, she still felt cold. Not worth it at all. The woman that Song Yifan, Xing Shiming, and Mrs. Song had been thinking about for more than 20 years was actually this kind of person. Su Qianxi was instantly enraged and cursed, "You are such an ungrateful person. If my father and grandmother had not taken you in, do you think you could have survived?" Rong Xian's hand shrank slightly. She took a deep breath and turned to the side. Her tone was soft but very cold. She said, "You can't say that. I also left a child for them, didn't I?" You are the blood of the Song family, aren't you?" Rong Xian interrupted her and looked at her coldly. "Go back. I also have family business to deal with." No, she was not. She was not Song Yifan's daughter at all. They had no blood relationship at all. When Su Qianxi was about to refute, she was pulled by Li Xiqing. "Let's go." Li Xiqing's eyes were like the stars and the moon, brilliant in the vastness. He had something to say to her. Su Qianxi saw it and stopped talking, turning to leave. However, before they went far, she heard Rong Xian's cold voice, "Rong Haiyue, do you want to do this?" Rong Xian is lying. She is lying to Rong Haiyue. Su Qianxi squeezed Li Xiqing's hand and was furious. "She clearly knows that my father and I are not biological father and daughter, but she did not let me finish and wanted to drive me away. Was she actually Rong Haiyue's daughter?" Their current daughter, Rong Anna, actually didn't look much like them. Rong Haiyue and Rong Xian's facial features were delicate and small, while Rong Anna's facial features were clearly a little deeper and more elegant, a bit like an ethnic minority girl. "She's lying." Li Xiqing walked out and whispered, "Whether it's true or not, can't we do a paternity test?" "I think Rong Haiyue has already guessed it. He will not sit idly by." "No, I'm just here to thank you, not to recognize my father." Su Qianxi rubbed the corner of her clothes. "If I am not Rong Haiyue's daughter, then what about Papa Song?" "I don't think that's what you should be worried about," Li Xiqing said ambiguously, looking in the direction of the Rong family. Rong Anna had already run out, and just then, a sports car passed by behind them. Su Qianxi turned her head and saw a tall figure walking down. Su Qianxi's pupils suddenly shrank. Looking at the other half of the body, she vaguely felt a bit dangerous and familiar. The person also seemed to feel Su Qianxi's gaze and turned to look. The moment he saw Su Qianxi, he was slightly surprised, but soon smiled. "Hi. Update. The update for the leader and the president will be postponed to tomorrow." Chapter 484. It was him, Bo Xiao. Bo Xiao was no shorter than Li Xiqing, and even stronger than Li Xiqing. At this moment, he was wearing a military green mid-length casual suit jacket. He was straight, with a chic brooch on his left chest. His hair was dyed a fashionable brownish yellow, slightly curled. At this moment, he got out of the car with a polite and elegant smile on his face. "Long time no see, Mr. Li, Mrs. Li. I didn't expect to see you here." Su Qianxi looked at him. This voice, this image, was impressively a noble gentleman. But faintly, Su Qianxi subconsciously overlapped him with another violent and rude man. For a moment, she was slightly dazed. Rong Anna ran out, panting and looking at the man in front of the car. She went up and said, "Xiao, my parents are quarreling again. Let's go in and talk to them." Bo Xiao seemed to be a bit helpless. "Oh, I can't help it. I'm too tired. Let's go. Don't fight later." Bo Xiao closed the door and threw his sunglasses in. Soon, he nodded slightly to them and said, "Excuse me." After that, he walked into the Rong family with Bo Xiao. Although the pace was fast, it was not too slow. This was the result of years of cultivation. Ordinary people could not pretend to be calm and generous. After Bo Xiao and Rong Anna went in, Li Xiqing slowly asked, "What's wrong?" Su Qianxi looked in that direction and suddenly came back to herself. Gently shaking her head, she said, "No, it must be an illusion." "What did you see?" "I'll tell you when we get back. I am sleepy." "Okay." Li Xiqing held her in his arms and quickly walked out of the alley and onto the road. When returning to the hotel, Su Qianxi took off her clothes and lay in bed. After thinking for a long time, she said, "Honey, I think." She paused and turned her head, only to find that Li Xiqing had disappeared. "Honey." She got out of bed and walked out of the living room barefoot. Today, the sun was a bit bright. The golden sunlight shone through the large floor-to-ceiling windows, and the whole room was warm. Li Xiqing was sitting on the sofa and playing with the laptop he brought. On a large dark background, there were codes that she could not understand. His fingers were jumping quickly, and the sound of typing came from the keyboard. She wanted to scare him from behind. Standing on her tiptoes, she tried not to make a sound as she walked, careful and careful. Suddenly, she rushed forward and put her hands on his shoulders. At the same time, the sound of glass being broken rang at the same time. Bang! The TV in the living room made a dull explosion sound. Su Qianxi was shocked and looked at the TV. Li Xiqing turned his head and saw smoke coming out of the hole in the middle of the crack on the TV screen. Those were bullet holes. Li Xiqing's heart skipped a beat. He pushed her hard and rolled to the side with her in his arms. Bang! There was a small hole in the leg of the table, and both sides were transparent. If it hit him, Su Qianxi screamed and trembled. He pulled a stool in front of him, pulled Su Qianxi, and growled, "Keep up." Fortunately, they were very close to the door at the moment. Li Xiqing escorted her to the porch and immediately pressed the emergency button. Chapter 485. It was a bright green window that blocked any line of sight from this side. Nothing could be seen. Su Qianxi grabbed his clothes and desperately pulled him out. "Go, go." He turned and held her in his arms, quickly walking out of the corridor. "Don't be afraid, it's okay." The hotel manager quickly came over, saw them like this, and immediately asked, "Call the police." "Ah." The hotel manager was a bit confused. "Sir, what happened? Call the police, can't you hear me?" Li Xiqing growled. Su Qianxi, who was holding him tightly, trembled even more. Li Xiqing's voice became soft. "It's okay, it's okay." Su Qianxi's hands were shaking. She suddenly looked up, looked into his eyes, and whimpered, "She wants to kill me, is it Rong Xian, she wants to kill me?" "Don't think too much. If she wants to kill you, why wait until now?" He patted her back and whispered, "It's okay, wait for the police to come and let them investigate." A tall figure slowly walked into a rather romantic coffee shop and sat down in front of a beautiful woman. The beautiful woman seemed to ask casually, "How is it?" "Failed." That person's reaction was much faster than I thought. "What should we do?" "If she recognizes us or catches us, we will all die." The tall man chuckled. "Oh, my fiancé, you are doubting my intelligence. Did you change the bullets?" "Of course." The tall man smiled elegantly, his voice very light and low, and even the shape of his lips was very vague. "A big shot is coming back from San Francisco, with great wealth." When Rong Haiyue arrived, Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi had finished their statements and were protected. Su Qianxi was obviously frightened, holding Li Xiqing and not letting go. Seeing Rong Haiyue coming, she looked a bit dazed. "Are you okay?" Rong Haiyue approached slightly and whispered. Li Xiqing gently shook his head, looking at him with a pair of cold eyes, deep and vast, hiding unspeakable kindness and unkindness, extremely complicated. What about Rong Xian? Su Qianxi asked. Where was she in the afternoon? Rong Haiyue was slightly stunned. She has been at home since you left, until she called me just now. Then he thought of something. You suspect her? Impossible. Rong Haiyue's face was full of certainty. Back then, she could leave me, a newborn child, at the door of the orphanage. Now I suddenly appeared and ruined her good deeds for so many years. She looked at Rong Haiyue with some sadness. Except for her, I can't think of anyone who wants me dead so much. Every shot was aimed at her body. The bullet pierced through the floor-to-ceiling window and the chair. If it had hit her, she would probably be dead by now. No one was not afraid of death, especially someone like Su Qianxi who had died once. Clearly seeing the fear and distrust in her eyes, Rong Haiyue opened his mouth, but in the end, he did not say a word. The sound of high heels was getting closer. Rong Haiyue turned his head and saw a slender figure in sapphire blue stopping behind them. Chapter 486. Honey, let's go back to Kingstown. She sniffed. I regret it. If I had known this would happen, I would not have come to the capital. I was kicked out and almost died. Yes, let's go back. He stroked her hair and said softly, don't be afraid. It will be fine. Suddenly, Li Xiqing's phone rang. It was Luo Zhan. Hello, Xiqing. Yes. It's not that guy. That guy has not returned to China yet, and the people who have conflicts with you are not in the capital. Just in case, I also screened all the call records and did not find any. And didn't you decide to go to the capital temporarily? Only your family knows about it, right? Even if those people have 3 heads and 6 arms, they can't reach that far. In addition to the people you just told me, who else has this motive? Can you think about it? The phone was put between Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi, and she also heard these words clearly. Frowning, she thought hard for a long while before saying a name, Tang Menjing. Tang Menjing is in Kingstown First Hospital. She has not been discharged yet, and she has no communication tools on her. Laurel is taking care of her, and no one else is in contact with her. She can't have a second Rong Rui who is willing to do things for her, right? Luo Zhan said indifferently. Li Xiqing's eyes flashed and looked at Rong Haiyue in front of him. Rong Haiyue could not hear the content of their conversation, but seeing Li Xiqing's eyes, he suddenly felt a little ominous. You check Rong Rui's current location and call records. Report all his itinerary and movements in the past 2 days to me. Okay. Hearing Rong Rui's name, Rong Haiyue's face became a bit dignified. He said, Rong Rui is my nephew. I know, Li Xiqing said quietly. Now, I am focusing on the motive of the Rong family. First, Rong Rui is against us. Now, almost no one knows that we came to the capital except you. However, such a thing can happen. You don't believe it if it is an accident, do you, Major General Rong? I have no motive to do this. You know, if I wanted her to die, I would not have saved her in the first place. Rong Haiyue was anxious and looked at Li Xiqing. She is very likely to be my biological daughter. How can I want to hurt her? Su Qianxi heard the words, looked up at him, and then looked behind him. Rong Xian stood, looking at Rong Haiyue with a complicated look. Rong Haiyue, you think too much. This is Song Yifun's daughter. Your daughter's name is Rong Anna. Have you forgotten the name you gave her? She is the same age as Anna. Roan Hyue looked back at her. And, do you really think I don't know? Anna is not related to me by blood at all. I didn't say anything because I'm giving you face, Rong Xian. Ha! Rong Xian's face suddenly changed. She looked at Rong Hyue coldly. You went for the identification. Chapter 487. Rong Hyue's voice was a bit loud, and the police outside looked over. Rong Xian immediately closed the door and locked it. For a time, there were only 4 of them in the room, 2 couples. Rong Hyue looked at Rong Xian as if he was looking at a madwoman. He reached out and grabbed her arm. Staring at her with reddish eyes, he asked word by word, back then, you were really pregnant and gave birth to the child, but you lost my daughter, right? Rong Xian looked at him with pity and did not speak. Such an attitude undoubtedly confirmed Rong Hyue's guess. Rong Hyue was silent for a moment and suddenly chuckled. Then, where did Anna come from? Anna is not your daughter, nor is she my daughter. Then what about her biological parents? Dead. Rong Xian's voice was a bit hoarse, with an imperceptible sob. I found her under the bridge. Her mother was holding her, and her body was still bleeding. She begged me to save her, so I picked her up, but her mother could not be saved and died. Then, Rong Xian chuckled and looked at Rong Hyue with pity. Her mother told me that Anna was pregnant by a whore. Do you think it's tragic? A bastard, ha! Rong Hyue's heart felt like it had been hammered. An indescribable pain almost burst out. With a big hand, Rong Hyue slapped her hard in the face. Rong Xian was hit suddenly, and she was caught off guard. Her feet were crooked, and her whole body fell to the ground. The side of his face that had been slapped instantly swelled up, and it was burning hot. Rong Xian was a bit dazed, covering her face and looking at Rong Hyue, who had been taking care of her for more than 20 years, incredulous. Startled, Su Qianxi let out a cry. Rong Xian looked at the hatred in Rong Hyue's eyes and suddenly laughed loudly. You hit me. Rong Hyue, you actually hit me. Ha ha ha. You can't stand it. Do you know that when she was young, I went to buy 2 buns and threw them on the ground. I asked her to pick them up and she really did it. Ha! I really wanted to take a photo to show you that this is your daughter. This is Rong Hyue's biological daughter. She is not even comparable to a beggar. But you're feeding a bastard from God knows where, treating him like a princess. You, Before Rong Xian could finish her sentence, she could not utter another syllable. Rong Hyue grabbed her neck with his big hand. His face was completely red, and his eyes were wet. He did not show any mercy. He wanted to kill her. Li Xiqing was shocked and immediately went to pull him away. However, Rong Hyue had lost his mind at the moment and was incredibly strong. Rong Xian's face turned purple. She pinched his hand with both of her hands, her legs flailing desperately. No, no. Su Qianxi cried and immediately opened the door, shouting, Help! Police, police, where are you? 2 police officers stationed immediately ran over. Seeing the situation inside, the 3 joined forces to pull Rong Hyue away. And Rong Xian's neck had been strangled with a layer of purple, looking extraordinarily hideous. Rong Hyue was pulled away. With red eyes and a red face, he shouted and was about to rush to Rong Xian, hysterically saying, Rong Xian, what do I owe you? You have to do this to me. Rong Xian covered her sore throat, her eyes moist because of the pain. She sneered coldly, her voice hoarse, but indifferent to the bone. She said, You deserve it. Dash. Chapter 488. Rong Xian's attitude not only angered Rong Haiyue more. At this moment, even he wanted to throw this woman into the sea to feed the fish. Su Qianxi stood far away, looking at this sober but indifferent so-called mother. All the illusions and flukes that she had always held were all disillusioned. Why did she do this? Rong Haiyue was such a good man. From their conversation, Su Qianxi could see that he loved his wife and daughter very much. But why could such a woman get his love? Su Qianxi could not understand, but what made her even more incomprehensible was why Rong Xian treated her like this. At that time, she was still a baby in swaddling clothes. She was placed at the door of the orphanage during the National Day holiday. What if no one found her? In that case, was she already dead by now? Rong Xian met her eyes, curled her lips coldly, and climbed up from the ground. After a stumble, she quickly recovered her usual elegance and calmness. Fixing her hair and clothes, Rong Xian took her handbag and walked out the door. Her legs were straight, her steps were calm, and she was as elegant as a lady walking out of a comic book. It was as if the woman who had just spoken hysterically to retaliate against Rong Haiyue was not her at all. A policeman stopped her. "Ma'am, you need to go back with us to make a statement. The injury on your neck also needs to be dealt with." Rong Haiyue had been arrested by the police. Looking at her back, he took a deep breath and looked up at the ceiling, not letting his tears fall. Rong Xian pushed the policeman away indifferently and said, "No, deal with that person. It is best to put him in jail for 8 or 10 years and dismiss him." Ha, ha ha, Rong Xian. Su Qianxi could not bear it and quickly walked up. Li Xiqing was shocked and shouted, "Be careful." Su Qianxi ignored him and walked to Rong Xian, shouting, "You psycho, crazy, ungrateful." He was simply a psychopath. Is Rong Haiyue not good to you? He loves you so much. Why do you treat him like this? Rong Xian looked at her coldly. After a long while, she chuckled and said in a hoarse voice, "You know nothing." After saying that, he reached out his hand to push her away, and with graceful steps, he leisurely walked forward. Su Qianxi felt like she had punched cotton. Instead of venting her anger, she felt even more aggrieved. He was so angry that he stomped his feet, turned around, and immediately ran up to Rong Xian. However, just as he was about to say something, he saw the tears flowing down Rong Xian's cheeks. That pair of eyes that were extremely similar to her own hid deep and obscure emotions, like regret, enlightenment, and pain. As tears flowed down, they were exposed in front of her eyes. However, Rong Xian immediately wiped away her tears and walked even faster. She walked around her in large strides and quickly left. Su Qianxi froze, watching the 2 police officers ready to take Rong Haiyue away. Why? Rong Haiyue did nothing wrong. Rong Anna was playing games at home. The door was opened, and the elegant sound of high heels approached. Rong Anna didn't need to look to know who it was. She didn't raise her head and shouted, "Mom, you're back. Where's Dad?" No one responded. Chapter 489. Rong Xian seemed to be in a bad mood, and Rong Anna could only see her back. Rong Xian went straight into the door, and Rong Anna heard the sound of the door being locked. Inexplicable. For so many years, she always felt that Rong Xian was living in her own world. She refused to communicate with people and refused anyone to enter, including her husband and daughter. Rong Anna didn't care, sat down, and continued to play games. Rong Xian threw herself on the bed. Her neck was still very painful, and with the shaking of her body, there was a burst of tearing feeling. Picking up the mirror at the bedside, the purple mark was shocking. This was done by Rong Haiyue himself. The Rong Haiyue, who always wanted to please her and keep her by his side, did it himself. He really wanted to kill her. Lying on the bed, Rongxian's heart was terribly empty, as if something was quietly passing away in her heart that had not been filled in for more than 20 years. Looking at the ceiling, Rong Haiyue's face seemed to appear in front of her, with a smile, with humble concern, and came to her with a smile, but she had stepped on him for more than 20 years. After a while, Rongxian smiled. You deserve it. She didn't know how many years it had been since she had this dream. In the dream, she was wearing a red bridal dress, sitting shyly on the bed. The matchmaker in the town had been talking to her since the early hours of the morning, teaching her a lot of things. Rongxian smiled shyly. Thinking of marrying that person, she couldn't stop the sweetness in her heart. Finally, they were going to be together. Although they still couldn't get a marriage certificate, this was not a problem at all, was it? However, a figure suddenly appeared outside the window. Rongxian thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. Only when he spoke did she suddenly wake up. It was him, he had found his way here. What was her reaction at the time? Like falling into an ice cellar, her whole body was cold, and she froze in place. The matchmaker was saying auspicious words outside, and Rongxian lied to her that she was going to find something and would be back soon. When he found Rong Haiyue, he took her and went to the river bank. He said, "Come back with me, Rongxian. Mom only has a few days left. Now she just wants to see me get married. Come back with me and fulfill her last wish, okay?" Rongxian forgot what she had said. She did not know which sentence had angered Rong Haiyue. There was a cement road that had just been repaired, and there was still a large patch of grass that had not been flattened. He pulled her into the bushes. Rongxian cried and begged him not to. However, every time she called him brother, it triggered the anger in his heart. He entered her mercilessly, and when he realized that she had lost her virginity, he flew into a rage. Xian. It was Song Yifan. He had come to see her. Rong Haiyue pinched her and gritted his teeth. Louder. Let him see what you are doing. Let's see if he still wants you. In the end, she did not dare to make a sound, and Rong Haiyue did not move either. The two held their breath until Song Yifan was far away. Then he pressed her down mercilessly and ravaged her. After that, Rongxian's clothes were ruined. She whimpered and ran around. At that time, Rong Haiyue drove the old car he borrowed, caught her in the town, and forced her into the car. He tied her up in the back seat and drove back to the capital. He locked her in the warehouse. As long as she was obedient, he would be gentle. Chapter 490. She didn't want it, she didn't want it. She cried and said, "You are the brother, and this is called incest." He pressed her down mercilessly, using his body to tell her that it wasn't. She was his child bride, and she was destined to marry him, wasn't she? The huge phone rang, and Rongxian suddenly woke up from her sleep. She wiped her face, which was already wet. The phone was still ringing. She picked it up, and it was a strange number. It was Kingstown. She picked it up, and neither side spoke. After a few seconds, there was a soft female voice. "You want to accuse him? It was clearly your fault. You angered him, so he would do that to you. You are at the police station." "Yes." "Let the police answer the phone." Su Qianxi was silent for a moment, feeling that Rongxian would hurt him, so she did not move. "You called me to ask me to let him go, didn't you?" Rongxian chuckled, and her voice was still hoarse. "Domestic violence, the police can't do anything about it. I will not accuse him. Ask them to let him go." "Really?" Su Qianxi was a bit surprised and handed the phone to a staff member. Sure enough, after he answered the phone, he looked at Su Qianxi strangely. When Rong Haiyue came out, it was already late at night. Su Qianxi was so sleepy that she lay in his arms, half asleep. Suddenly, she saw Rong Haiyue coming out and was a bit surprised. "You're out." Rong Haiyue saw her surprised little face, and a pair of sharp eyes were sad. "I'm sorry." Su Qianxi was dazed, feeling a bit strange about his sudden apology. "I hurt you. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have ended up like that. I thought." Rong Haiyue's voice was a little choked, and his eyes were slightly red. "I thought that no matter how cruel she was, she wouldn't hurt a child. No matter how much she hated me, she still had maternal love for her child. Later, although I knew that Anna was not my daughter, I didn't tell her. I was afraid that she would be angry and leave." Su Qianxi's eyes were hot, and tears immediately fell. "If I had discovered it earlier and asked her earlier, you wouldn't have suffered so much. I'm sorry." Li Xiqing held her and listened to Rong Haiyue's confession. He couldn't help but feel sad for them. Shortly after dawn, Rong Haiyue asked Su Qianxi to go to the hospital for a test, and she agreed. Later, Su Qianxi did not sleep all night. Rong Haiyue sent someone to protect them. After letting Su Qianxi rest, the two of them got on the plane back to Kingstown. After getting off the plane, he received a WeChat message from Rong Haiyue. It was a picture. There was no doubt that the paternity test showed that Su Qianxi and Rong Haiyue were biological father and daughter. Su Qianxi stared at the picture for a long while, feeling very complicated. "Should I let Papa Song know?" He stroked her hair and whispered, "Do you think it's necessary to let him know?" "Yes, but it's too cruel. Let nature take its course." Father-in-law Song has long known that you are not his biological daughter, and he has long known that you are Rong Xian's daughter. When the two of them meet one day, they will naturally know. Okay. On the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, Yang had not yet come to work, so Li Xiqing took his wife to a taxi. Shortly after getting in the car, he received a call from Yu Yuegue, who sounded hurried. "Sir, Miss Tang has gone crazy. 3 o'clock to be completed before 9:30. Chapter 491. Sir, Miss Tang is crazy. When they arrived at the Kingstown First Hospital, Tang Menjing had been restrained, sedated, tied and locked on the bed. Unexpectedly, when Tang Menjing saw them, she was not hysterical or struggling. She just looked at them and laughed like a psycho. The laughter was getting louder and louder. There was a hint of morbid madness and calm mockery. Looking at Li Xiqing, her eyes were already red, and tears were on the verge of falling. Su Qianxi was scared by her laughter. Laurel explained to Li Xiqing, early in the morning, she said she wanted to eat lotus seed and tremella soup and asked me to make it for her. How could I go out? I could only find a place to buy it for her. However, who knew, she ran into the baby incubator, picked up the baby, and smashed him on the ground. Su Qianxi's heart skipped a beat and asked, "Where is the baby?" "He has been sent to the emergency room. The initial diagnosis seems to be a broken bone. There is blood all over his body, and he was crying miserably. The baby was born prematurely, and his body was already weak. It is still unknown whether he could be saved. How can there be such a mother? She is worse than an animal." Laurel was furious, wiping her tears as she spoke. She went out to mess around. Poor child, having such a mother, so poor. Tang Menjing heard this and did not react at all. Worse than an animal, this kind of thing. During the time she was lying in the hospital, she had heard this kind of thing too many times. But why did she have to live like this? She was indeed worse than an animal. Tang Menjing stared at Li Xiqing and smiled happily. Su Qianxi's eyes were overflowing with tears. Looking at Tang Menjing's delirious look, she whispered, "Pervert. What did the newborn child owe her? Why should the child be involved in the grievances of the previous generation? Rong Xian was that kind of person, making her an orphan. In her words, when she was a child, her life was worse than that of a beggar. Now Tang Menjing was the same kind of person. What could be wrong with a newborn child? Did you call the police?" Laurel was dazed, looked at her, and nodded. "Yes. Look at her. She committed murder." Su Qianxi wiped her tears. "I'm going to see the child." "Where is he?" "In the emergency room, not out yet." Before Laurel finished, he and Su Qianxi had left the ward. Tang Menjing closed her eyes and lay in bed. The child's shoulder bone was comminuted. He was temporarily saved, but because the child's body was too weak, whether or not he could really survive depended on his recovery. Hearing the doctor's words, Su Qianxi was so distressed that her tears fell. The child's facial features were very beautiful. His little hands and feet were curled up, and there were still traces of tears on his face. He had already fallen asleep. She seemed to have nothing to do with Tang Menjing, but she was born by such a woman. Su Qianxi looked at the baby in the box and took Li Xiqing's hand. Li Xiqing also looked at him. His cold eyes seemed to have seen through everything. Su Qianxi opened her mouth, but did not say anything. She put her arms around his waist and sobbed. Chapter 492. Think about it. This is Tang Menjing's child, the child of the Tang family. Li Xiqing's voice was very low, and he reached out and stroked her hair. The ungrateful genes of this family are stronger than you think. Su Qianxi tightened her grip and looked up at him. At the beginning of life, people are naturally kind. I think the environment should be more important than the so-called genetic influence. We should educate him well and make him a child of the Li family. Isn't that enough? You want him to call you mom. Li Xiqing looked a little reluctant. Gazing at her with a pair of deep eyes, he whispered, "When he grows up, he may hate you. He may hate us for driving his biological mother into a dead end. He may hate us for driving the Tang family into a dead end. When he grows up, he may want to find his biological mother. Is that okay?" "No," Su Qianxi sobbed. "I know this feeling best. Don't forget Rong Xian." What was the difference between Rong Xian and Tang Menjing now? In fact, Tang Menjing is even worse than Rong Xian. I hate Rong Xian. When the child grows up, he will definitely feel the same as I do now. Besides, we saved him now, and he will be grateful to us in the future, right? Don't underestimate the ungrateful genes of the Tang family, Mrs. Li. Su Qianxi bowed her head and stopped talking. Tang Menjing was quickly taken away by the police. For a month and a half, the only family that supported and helped her was the Lu family. During this period, she appealed twice and was finally sentenced to 10 years in prison for attempted murder. Since the shooting incident in the capital, Li Xiqing immediately went to Star City to find a female bodyguard to follow Su Qianxi. According to Li Xiqing's idea, he originally wanted to send her too, but Su Qianxi was afraid that it would be too high profile. In the end, she chose a tall and thin girl with an ordinary appearance. As a pregnant woman for 3 months, Su Qianxi's performance seemed to be no different from ordinary people, except that she was a bit sleepy, a bit picky about what she ate, and occasionally had heartburn. It had been almost a month since school started, and Su Qianxi was in a half-awake state almost every day. After class, the bodyguard Shuangyug helped her carry her bag and escorted her home. On this day, Su Qianxi was directly taken back to Yuxiu Villa by Yang's driver after school. There were also 2 bodyguards standing at the door. When they saw her return, they bowed slightly to her. Su Qianxi had long been used to this scene and walked in calmly. As soon as she got home, she smelled the hot and sour fish Nanny Rong made for her. Su Qianxi dropped her bag and went into the kitchen, almost drooling. Washing her hands, she sat at the table and asked, "Where is he?" Nanny Rong gave her a bowl of rice and said, "Mr. Jiang hasn't come back yet. I heard that the company has been very busy recently. By the way, I heard that Tang Menjing went crazy and was locked up in a mental hospital. Did Mr. Jiang tell you what happened?" Su Qianxi took the rice and shook her head. "No, is Tang Menjing really crazy? I heard from Sir on the phone this morning that she seemed to have bitten off the warden's ear while he was still alive. After she was sent to the mental hospital for a checkup, they found out that she had long gone mad. Coupled with the fact that she was bullied in prison, she is now in a very dangerous situation." Chapter 493. Don't be impatient. Mr. Li is doing this for your own good. You should have listened to Captain Li and not let you go to school. Mr. Li can't argue with you. It's better to send a few more people. If something goes wrong, it will be bad. I know. Su Qianxi had a good appetite. After eating 2 bowls of rice, she went upstairs with her bag. After the shower, Su Qianxi heard the sound of breathing in the room. While drying her hair, she walked toward the bed and called, "Honey." However, there was no response. Su Qianxi did not care. Sitting on the bed and drying her hair, she crossed her legs and picked up the pregnancy book on the bedside, flipping through it. However, the breathing became louder and louder. Su Qianxi looked up and saw no one. Putting the book back, Su Qianxi went into the cloakroom and tentatively called, "Honey." It was dark inside. She turned on the light, but there was no one. Drying her hair and walking out, Su Qianxi looked at the bed again. No one was there. She opened the door and looked out. Li Xiqing had just opened the door and walked in. Seeing her coming out, his cold face softened. Seeing him, Su Qianxi was dazed. At the same time, she heard breathing behind her. Su Qianxi was stiff, and her breathing suddenly became rapid. Her arms were stiff, and she did not even dare to move. Seeing her increasingly strange face, Li Xiqing felt a bit strange. Su Qianxi did not dare to move, sobbing and asking for help. "Honey," Li Xiqing suddenly felt something was wrong. He strode upstairs, taking 3 steps at a time. When he came to Su Qianxi, he found that she was already soaked in cold sweat and stiff. Su Qianxi shivered and whispered, "In the room, there is someone else." Li Xiqing's heart skipped a beat. Hugging her, he called, "Cheng, de." The 2 bodyguards at the door heard the noise and immediately ran in. Seeing Li Xiqing upstairs, the 2 rushed up at the same time. When Cheng and De came up, Li Xiqing hugged Su Qianxi and stared inside. The 2 bodyguards immediately understood and went inside to rummage through it. Li Xiqing and Su Qianxi walked in and saw Ah Qing open the curtains of the floor-to-ceiling windows. They suddenly saw a hideous clown doll stuck to the window. Su Qianxi shuddered and screamed in fear. He patted her shoulder. "It's okay. Don't be afraid." The clown doll was a mini stereo. As soon as the floor-to-ceiling windows opened, she could hear the sudden breathing sound. It was extremely loud. The bodyguard took down the clown, checked it, and gave it to Li Xiqing. At the same time, the bodyguard Ada handed over a sapphire blue book that he had just found on the windowsill. Under the clown's speaker was a sticky note with messy handwriting. I heard your wife is pregnant. The strange sound coming from the speaker, coupled with the strange note, made Li Xiqing's heart skip a beat. His eyes, which had no warmth to begin with, were now stained with a layer of frost and deadly venom, making him shudder. Cheng and De had not been with Li Xiqing for long, and it was the first time they had seen a master like this. The two looked at each other and stood aside respectfully. Su Qianxi took the sapphire blue book, which had 4 big words printed on it, Mom's Diary. Opening it, the beautiful handwriting was on the paper. The owner of this book was Tang Menjing. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.